It's only the Firehouse Sub live broadcast, Dave. We have to really be there to make sure technically we run well. It's really weird. I would say it's just a coincidence. It's not that the Firehouse Subs are phenomenal. Just a coincidence. You know, we were hanging out there today. Our buddy Larry was there. We love Larry. The folks at Firehouse. I tell you, I tried the steak sub for the first time. Because, you know, I dig the Cuban. I like that, the smoker. And I was like, you know, I've never actually just tried the old school steak sub. It's got the peppers. I brought you a hunk of it. Have you ever tried the old school steak sub?
No, I haven't. You know, you can't go wrong with any sub there.
Yeah, it's stupid good. I even tried the Captain Chicken Club or whatever it was today. I don't know what was on it, but it was good. Yeah. See, I don't want to know what's on stuff sometimes. I don't know about you. If you tell me, sometimes I won't eat it again.
You mean like Vienna sausage or something?
And I'm okay with that.
With the fat all in it?
Yeah, see, I'm okay with that. I can't like as soon as I looked at the ingredients in a hot dog, I didn't eat a hot dog for years.
Oh, yeah.
Once I saw you can have a percentage of things in there that shouldn't be in there by law, I was like, I really don't want to eat that anymore.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to read that list.
No, that's the list that throws you off, right? The minute you read what's in a hot dog, you go, oh, okay. Well, they won't be eating those again for a while. But, yeah, I mean, Firehouse is phenomenal. So, again, we appreciate our buddy Larry and all the folks at Firehouse as, once again, we Gamecock Central taking over another Firehouse sub-location, which we do every month. All right, now we're Sunday, Monday. We're getting about 72 hours past what happened at Williams-Brice on Saturday. Obviously, we spent Monday talking about officiating or lack of quality officiating, and we got into all that. And we'll get to our Twitter X poll, which will kind of put a bow on the officials conversation.
Quick note, did you listen to the guy on Infinity Sports after the game?
No, I did not.
That guy.
That guy?
That guy. Oh, South Carolina, they're a third-rate team. Third-rate fans complaining about the referees. You're a third-rate.
Was he making that noise?
Similar, yeah.
Because no other fan base has ever complained about officiated.
I know. I just wanted to kill him. And then he said our fans were bad because they were going to rush the field if we'd run because we don't have any past of winning. And then he mentioned, hey, I'm from South Carolina. I worked in radio in Greenville. And I'm like, oh, Greenville, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you were.
What school's up there?
Were you listening to our network?
Yeah, I was.
I have an idea who that was. You can't let that human being bother you, Dave.
He was.
You let it bother you. Because he's trying to bother you, and it worked.
He did.
And really, his goal was just to bother you, Dave Adair. No one else.
Why does he pick on us? He's like a Florida fan.
Well, because he worked in Greenville. You understand where I'm going here, right?
Oh, I understand. I get it.
Can't let it bother you, Dave. You got to breathe. You know, I think after you're finished working, because I can't encourage you to drink while you're working, but you know, after you finish up that whole day of football, you know, just a little shot, take the edge off, Dave.
I had to take a triple dose of my blood pressure medicine after that.
Just gotta let it go, Dave. Just gotta let it go, man. Let it go. Let it go. Those sports talk show people, man, you can't let them bother you. Those people. Gotta let it go, man.
I started to just put hiss on the air because it would have been better. You know? Let me turn the hiss up.
Yeah, just put some music on. Give me some Motown. All right. So now that we move forward a bit, look, the officiating talk will never go away because, I mean, there was some calls in this game that obviously you were like, what the bleep? But we also have to move on to the other stuff. And, you know, Shane Beamer addressed the officiating and some of the stuff. He said he hadn't seen some of that stuff in 25 years. And I think it's just a crew that did a bad job. And Chris Clark told us at Firehouse There were multiple officials in this game that were officiating their first SEC game, which is kind of a head scratcher. You'd put, like, if you're going to sprinkle one new dude in, I get it, but multiple new people on a crew is kind of a head scratcher. So we'll continue to have these conversations about officiating, and again, there should be more transparency, more accountability. Maybe, since you are making gobs of billions of dollars in TV money, I don't know, maybe make your officials in the SEC, ready for this, full-time. Not some guy, during the week I sell cars at the Mercedes dealership and then I officiate SEC games on Saturday. Maybe you just make officials full-time with a legit, real, honest-to-God, transparent grading system. But again, you never get to see that stuff. Even the NFL isn't fully transparent with officiating. You know who is fully transparent? It's the NBA. They don't mess around. They have this thing called the 2-minute report. They have no problem throwing their referees under the bus. But I think there's an accountability and transparency that needs to happen in all sports with officiating. I just do. Everybody else is transparent and accountable, but the referees, officials, and umpires. It's just got to change. So we've talked a ton about that. We'll go to our Twitter X poll around 12:50 and give you the final results of our latest poll, which was basically, I'm paraphrasing, why do you think South Carolina lost on Saturday? And the choices were the officiating, a lack of offense in the second half, or defense wearing down, and far and away the officials have won. I'll tell you that right now. We'll dive into that a little bit more coming up. Shane Beamer hits the airwaves 1 o'clock here on The Game in Columbia, meeting with the media like he does every Tuesday. We'll have Shane's thoughts and comments coming up at 1 o'clock, sponsored by Crescent Construction. And when we take once we get away from the officiating, there were other reasons South Carolina lost that football game, but there were reasons South Carolina was in position to win that football game. And it's time to maybe start looking at that, because that's going to be the more important things moving forward. Again, you can't control officials. Some are going to be decent, some are going to be good, some are going to stink. But what you can do is control how you play, and to keep the game out of the hands of those people. And, you got some things to clean up. Offensively, the offense did change in the second half with Robbie Ashford. But again, that's your backup quarterback. And if your starting quarterback has skills, your backup's not going to be as good. Robbie Ashford does not consistently throw the football as well as Lenore Sellers. He just doesn't. I mean, Lenore Sellers is a work in progress, and that passing offense is a work in progress, but Robbie Ashford does not throw the ball as well as Lenore Sellers. So that should not be a shock, because there's a reason Robbie Ashford is the backup. No offense, but that's just the truth. But the offense obviously was not as productive. And in some ways, do you really expect it to be just as productive or more productive with the backup quarterback in the game? What you're hoping is Lenore Sellers can be healthy, and you don't have to worry about putting the backup in because of injury reasons. But the offense obviously did not cook the way it did in the first half. And the first half was the best first half of offense I think we've seen with South Carolina. A combination of big plays and moving the football and sustained drives. Look, under Shane Beamer and Marcus Satterfield and Dow Loggins, the offense of South Carolina has had their share of explosives. It's just that when they're not getting explosive plays, they have trouble scoring because they have not been good at sustaining drives. Success rate, which is, we're focusing this year on two stats on offense. Yards before contact with the running backs and success on first down. And a successful first down play is gaining 5 yards or more. So far this year, South Carolina's around 25-26%. You want that to get better. Yards before contact was much better last week. We're going to try to dig into that stat here shortly as well. But it got better last week against Kentucky. First week against Old Dominion, it was not good at all. But it still is under 2 yards a carry, and you want it to get over 2 yards a carry. Basically, you want the running back to at least have a couple of yards before he's getting hit. And obviously, the higher, the better. So but baby steps, get it over 2 yards. So offensively, good first half against LSU. Defensively, that first quarter and really roughly the first quarter plus a few minutes, South Carolina's defense just suffocated LSU's offense. So LSU had 7 total yards before that first touchdown drive in the second quarter. Now, again, conversation. We brought it up yesterday for a couple of minutes because we were so focused on the officiating yesterday. But South Carolina went to that 3-man front. And for some reason, they weren't as effective in the 3-man front as they were in the 4-man front. Because they were working LSU with that 4-man defensive front in that 4-2-5. So South Carolina changed it up. LSU made some adjustments, and all of a sudden, Tigers are moving the rock. And special teams-wise, yes, Herrera missed the long field goal at the end of the game that would have tied it. Made his other field goals. You had a block punt. The Mo Brown block punt was just sick. So special teams had a couple of moments on Saturday, positive as well. To me, again, you come out of the LSU game, yeah, you want to win. There's no moral victories. There's no MVs in the standings. But you feel good about your football team because really you should have beat LSU. I mean, you hope that one doesn't come to bite you in the rear later in the year, but you outplayed LSU. So that's got to make you feel good moving forward. You should beat Akron this Saturday. And then you finish September 3-1, which if you'd have told most Gamecock fans you'll finish September 3-1, there would have been, hey, hold my beer, I got to do backflips. I know it will be a bittersweet feeling because you're like, yeah, it should be 4-0. And yeah, I agree. But 3-1 still, that's the best September in Shane's era. And we'll see where it goes moving forward as, again, this football team after 3 games, they can compete with anybody on their schedule. Yeah, it's going to be tough. Ole Miss is very explosive. They come to Williams-Brice for Game 5. Yes, Alabama and Tuscaloosa will be a tall chore. But besides that, every other game on the schedule, you go, you know what, they can hang in there. Even Missouri. I mean, the Missouri game, again, will be here in Columbia. So we'll see where it all goes. But to me, yes, there's things that have to get better. There are things that have to get cleaned up. There were too many penalties on Saturday. Some of them, again, did not make sense. Turnovers have to come down a bit. But at the end of the day, you go, you know what? That was a pretty good deal the way this football team hung in there with Kentucky and with LSU. Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest here on the game. It's up to now $300. Almost had a special team score on Saturday. Didn't get it. Pot's $300. If the Gamecocks score a special teams touchdown, 7:30 Monday morning, the early game will draw a winner. It's that simple. So the way to qualify yourself for this is go to 1075thegame.com. Look at that little flippy thing at the top of the page. Once it lands on Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest, click on it, fill out the little form, take you about a minute, click submit, and you're in. You have to do that every week. The pot, again, $300 this week, Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Up next, we will dive a little bit into some numbers from Saturday versus LSU. We'll look at some Pro Football Focus grades, some other stats, give us a little insight on the thumbs up and thumbs down of Saturday in the loss to LSU. That's coming up. Terry Ford, halftime show. David Dares here. Tyler's coming back from Firehouse in Lexington. We're hanging here till 3 on the game. All right, so you're looking at your kitchen, you're like, man, I could use some new appliances. Be nice. Or some new fixtures. I like a new faucet. You know what we need? A tub. Put it right in the living room. I can lay in the tub and watch football. Or maybe you want in the bathroom. Maybe new lighting in your house. Just different kind of vibe. It's very simple. Just call the folks at the Nest. On Gadsden at 1331. 803-978-2025. You can go to the Nest showroom.com and look at all the great things they can do for your home. Doesn't matter what your budget is. The folks at the Nest, over 70 years experience in that building. They know what's up. You call that number, again, 803-978-2025. Set up an appointment. Tell them your budget and your vision. They'll walk you through the showroom, and they'll make your dreams for your home come true. Again, the Nest in the Vista in Gadsden, 803-978-2025, the Nest. Halftime show, Terry Ford, David Dare, Tyler popping back from Lexington as we took over, like always, Gamecock Central taking over Firehouse Subs in Lexington this time. All right, as we take a look back at the bigger picture things from Saturday, as we try to get past the officiating, which again was god-awful, we will admit. But there's some good things about what happened on Saturday and some things that have to get cleaned up. You're sitting at 2-1 with what should be a win against Akron on this Saturday. We get everything started 2:30, Gamecocks game day. And then we hand off to the network at 4:30 and a 7:30 kick from Williams-Brice versus Akron. And it was funny. Joe Moorhead, the head coach at Akron, I was kind of reading his comments, was it yesterday? And in his presser, he was talking about coming to South Carolina, and he goes, yeah, it's good for the athletic department. Put a little money in the bank. He goes, the equestrian team can buy some new saddles. Joe's like, yeah, we're going to go down to South Carolina. They're going to write us a check. We're probably going to get the crap kicked out of us. But you know what? The equestrian team can get new saddles. So that, again, 7:30 kick. We start everything Gamecocks game day, 2:30 from the party lot at Sound and Images. And, of course, the Gamecocks game day tailgate, always sponsored by Lexington Medical Orthopedic. All right, so a couple of stats. We pay attention to two stats this year on offense, a ton on this show. One is success rate on first down. We'll get to that later. The other one, though, is yards before contact for running backs. So if you look at Rocket Sanders in this football game, yards before contact, 45 yards before contact for Rocket Sanders in this football game. 99 yards after contact. And yards before contact as a team overall, South Carolina had 93 yards before contact as a team. Now, if you sit, once I pulled this up, because it's always exciting to hear us look things up on the air, LSU defensively had given up some stuff on the ground. And South Carolina ran the ball really well against LSU. Make no mistake. Now, when you dig a little bit deeper into the stats of this football game, running the ball versus LSU, the obvious stat that hits you is, wow, 243 yards rushing. Fantastic. Then you have 41 carries, you have 93 yards before contact, so now you're over that 2-yard deal. That's good. It's getting better. Obviously, you want it to get even better. You'd love to get it over 3. But versus LSU, you had over 2 yards before contact in that football game. And with 243 yards rushing total, you had 204 yards after contact. Which, again, is your running game, your backs and your quarterbacks and whoever's running the football doing a nice job after contact to continuing to pick up yards, but you'd like to see that yards before contact number get a little higher. But getting over 2 yards before contact, that's a good thing compared to where it's been. Because the average was around 1.5. So that got better. And Rocket Sanders is a yards after contact machine anyway. 143 yards rushing and 99 of it after contact. So, and as a whole, running for over 200 yards after contact when you carried the football 41 times. That's good. It's really good. That just shows you that the folks toting the rock aren't just going down on the first hit. So the running game, you like what you saw there. Absolutely. Well, Lenore Sellers, before he got hurt, one of the positive things was throwing the football play action. Lenore Sellers had a really good day. South Carolina didn't do a ton of it. When South Carolina did it, there was real efficiency in throwing the football out of play action. And if you looked at it really quick, and let me grab it. Out of play action, Lenore Sellers, like I said, 5 dropbacks out of play action, 5 attempts, 4 were complete, 4 out of 5 for 39 yards. Didn't get it down the field deep, but did complete 4 out of 5 for 39 yards. So, and Lenore's hitting Jared Brown on that shot, that deep ball on the left sideline. I mean, Brown made a good play, but Sellers also popped it through a really tight window. So that was a positive. That throw down the field. Between 10 and 19 yards, Lenore Sellers 1 for 2. Over 20 yards, Sellers was 1 for 2 as well with that shot to Brown, and then Sellers threw the pick when a ball he probably shouldn't have thrown, and a ball where he got hit in the head anyway, and that wasn't called. But so with Lenore Sellers, again, there's things that were good. Like, play action was good. When Sellers didn't have any heat, he was efficient. Under pressure, he was pressured on 26.3% of his dropbacks. That's not bad at all. That's pretty positive. But he did throw the interception when he was pressured. That was 5 drops back being pressured. And he threw the pick under pressure. So those are some of the stats when you break down the game. Again, the offense, I thought Lenore Sellers, again, there's young quarterback, his third start. We always make that list of the good stuff and the stuff he can do better. The good stuff list was a lot longer against LSU, and the stuff you need to do better list, there are still things there, but not as many as we saw, like, for example, in the Old Dominion game. Now we'll see if Sellers is healthy enough to play against Akron. That's the next question. I'm sure Shane will be asked that at 1 o'clock during the presser. All right, Dave, since you're here, I'll tell you this story. Because you're the music guy. You don't like sports. All right, Dave, I'll give you...
Not true.
You're just like when Clemson loses.
Of course. Doesn't everybody?
All right, here's a story. Springsteen story. He's on this show called Graham Norton, which is a talk show over in England, a very popular talk show. And they're telling this story. Now, Springsteen, I think it's back in the 80s, early 80s maybe. Probably right after born in the USA, so I think mid-80s. He's in a movie theater in St. Louis. He's day off the tour. By himself, he's going to go see a movie. He's going to see a Woody Allen movie. So he's by himself. He's in this movie theater. And this kid is with a girl, like he's on a date, young teenager, recognizes Springsteen. Walks up and goes, "You're Bruce Springsteen." And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Wow, this is really cool. You're a movie theater. I get to meet you. I love your movie." Blah, blah, blah. He goes, "Hey, you want to watch a movie with us?" And Springsteen's like, "Sure, why not?" So Springsteen sits next to this kid, this teenager and his date, watches the movie. End of the movie, the kids go, "Wow, man, it's really great. You sat here next to us and we got to talk to you. This was awesome. Thanks a lot." And Bruce is like, yeah, no problem. And the kid goes, "Hey, want to come to my house?" Springsteen's like, "Sure." So Springsteen goes to the kid's house. And the kid walks in with Bruce Springsteen. "Mom, it's Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen's with me." The mom's like, "Who?" And the kid goes, "Mom, wait a minute." Goes down in the bedroom, comes back out and holds up the album. And Mom goes, "Oh, my God, is that you?" And Springsteen goes, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, my God, and you're in my house. This is unbelievable. Hey, would you like some eggs?" Springsteen goes, "Sure." So Springsteen sits in the kitchen with the mom and the kid eating eggs in St. Louis. And then Springsteen says in the story when Graham Norton, he goes, "Yeah, the funny thing was for years and years and years, whenever we went to St. Louis for a gig, I'd go to their house and hang out."
That's great.
"Hey, you want some eggs?" "Why not?" "Sure."
And at least not like that scene in Almost Famous.
Exactly.
He goes, drink the solo cups, man.
So it's a great movie. Almost Famous is a great movie. So there's a Springsteen story that somebody showed me when he was on Graham Norton. Hang out at some kid's house with his mom eating eggs. All right, Shane Beamer coming up at 1 o'clock with Shane's presser. Well, here's some sound from Shane. We haven't played a lot of Shane from the postgame. We're going to get a little Shane conversation in about his football team after the loss to LSU coming up next on the halftime show. Terry Ford, David Ayers here. Tyler Head's coming back from Firehouse in Lexington. We're here till 3 on the game.
They're going to have that three-back backfield again. Nussmeier under center. Good timing by Carolina. There's something in the backfield thrown on the edge. He didn't get it. He didn't get it. It was thrown over towards the LSU sideline. Nussmeier was stumbling as pressure was coming. Tonka Hemingway pushed the pile back. Great timing on the blitz by the linebackers and never had it in rhythm.
There is Todd and Tommy on the call on the Gamecock Sports Network. Heard here on your flagship for South Carolina Gamecock Sports, 107.5 The Game in Columbia, also on our affiliate in Myrtle Beach at 100.3 The Game as well. And that was that stop on 4th and 1 early in the second half. 4th and goal at the 1 where Nussmeier, because of the pressure, couldn't get the ball to his back, Josh Williams. South Carolina took over, obviously, deep in their own territory. I believe 5 plays and then had to punt. LSU, they get the ball back. Obviously, field position is your friend. In that instance, you get the ball back right around midfield, a little bit in South Carolina territory. And then LSU went down to score a touchdown to cut the lead to 2. But at that time, that goal line stand was huge. Here's Shane, Dave. Let's get this post-game talking about his defense in the LSU game.
Defensively, like everybody, we just weren't quite good enough today. They have an explosive offense. There's no question about it, and the quarterback's gritty and tough, and they have some big time receivers. It's the best group of offensive linemen and receivers that we've played here in a while, going back to last year, and they showed it today. Like I said at the beginning, Alan, there's a lot of really big time individual performances today, and their offense had a lot of them, and we did some really good things today as well, but just too many yards.
Yeah, especially again, LSU only had 7 yards when they took the ball over early in the second quarter, down 17-0. That was it. Beginning of the game, again, LSU punted, and then on that third possession got the touchdown. 3 punts, matter of fact, punt to start the game was LSU. So South Carolina defensively was really doing some work. And then on their fourth possession, that's when the Tigers got the touchdown to make it 17-7 on that 3rd and 9. We talked about that yesterday, the running play on 3rd and 9 that busted up the middle for a touchdown where they looked like there was a little holding. It was not called. The officials again, we got to stop it, Dave. But again, there are things that get away from the officials that South Carolina did to themselves in this football game that also helped them lose. The penalties, even though some of them were head scratchers, there were a couple of costly penalties that had nothing to do with the officials. Legit penalties that South Carolina you can't do. You can't jump off sides defensively when the other team's sitting at a 4th and 3. When every yard counts, you can't have a procedure penalty on offense. You just can't. And South Carolina's defense, you can say, well, it was on the field a ton in the second half. I don't disagree with that, but LSU made some adjustments and started moving the football. So there were things that defensively you really liked. The way South Carolina got after Garrett Nussmeier and how South Carolina did win a lot of the battles against that vaunted LSU offensive line. An offensive line that hadn't given up a sack all year, really good in pass protection. South Carolina's pass rush won a lot of those battles, so that's a good thing. That was good stuff. Yeah, like we said, once you move the officiating of the game to the side, I mean, you're South Carolina. You have two feelings. A, you feel good about your football team after 3 weeks. But B, you're also, you need a third foot to kick yourself in the butt because you should have won the game. You should have won the game. And how do you do moving forward? Now, you should take out Akron this Saturday. And then you've got the gauntlets coming. You should be 4-1 when you got Ole Miss and Bama and Oklahoma coming up. All of a sudden, going to Norman when the Sooners are coming off the State Fair game with Texas and seeing what Oklahoma's been so far this year, you're going, hey, you can win that game. The Oklahoma offensive line is a work in progress. South Carolina's pass rush is nasty. Jackson Arnold, they might, before the game, they say, hey, Jackson, have you signed your life insurance waiver? Just checking. So that game all of a sudden doesn't feel like as much, even though you are going to Norman. You're like, oh, what you've seen of Oklahoma so far, if they continue to play the way they're playing now, you're not sitting there going, no way you can win there. Sure there is. Going to Tuscaloosa to take on an Alabama team. Remember a couple weeks ago, as good as Alabama has looked at times, also they didn't look very good at all against South Florida for, 3.5 quarters? Ole Miss has been scary so far this year, but it's not like they're playing a gauntlet of great teams. But that's what you got coming up. And it ain't going to be easy. Hopefully you don't have too much trouble with Akron this Saturday. We'll see, but that's where that whole thing is at. 3 games. Rocket Sanders finally broke free and went nuts against LSU. That's what you've been waiting for. You got it on Saturday. Again, LSU not good at defending the run. They just aren't. And we'll see how much, how many carries Sanders gets against Akron. Maybe this is a game where you'll see more Oscar Attaway and Juju McDowell and others at running back. We'll see. Does Lenore Sellers play Saturday? How's the ankle? If he's 100%, he needs reps. He needs work. He's a youngin'. But if he's, 64.7%, then you're probably smarter playing Robbie Ashford. If you have enough confidence in Ashford to be able to quarterback your team to a W against an inferior opponent. So we'll see where that goes. But this offense still needs reps. Rocket Sanders, thumbs up. Offensive line is better than it was last year. Obviously, low bar. Really low bar. But it is better. Torricelli Simpkins played well against LSU. Had a nice game. And Josiah Thompson, it's what you expect. There's going to be good snaps and bad snaps for a freshman left tackle in the SEC. But you can see it with Thompson. You watch it going, man, once this cat gets experience, he's going to be really good. Because he is. Wide receivers are kind of a mixed bag. You love to see, Jared Brown, it feels like Jared Brown's the go-to guy at wide receiver, but you like to see some more consistency. Trey Jacobs caught a pass late in the game, but he hasn't gotten a lot of targets. Nick Harbor got some targets on Saturday. It'd be nice if Harbor could develop and become a consistent threat. Gage Larvadain doesn't seem like either he still isn't 100% or he's been passed by a bunch of guys. Because Larvadain's getting very little run at all. But that receiver group, you want to see some consistency. And like anything in the passing game, how much of it is actually the wide receivers or other things that make it look like the wide receivers aren't being productive? So we'll try to dig into some of that stuff this week as well. Tight ends like Josh Simon. Josh Simon's blocking grade was fantastic on Saturday. And Simon has been a reliable target for Lenore Sellers. Michael Smith, the freshman, has had some moments where you go, oh, he's got some game. But the offense still has had, again, that half last Saturday against LSU was their most consistent half of productive football. Defense, man, woo! They're not throwing donuts like was talked about in the offseason, but it looks like a really good D. And if you can continue to get after quarterbacks, which if you can get after the LSU quarterback, you can put heat on any quarterback. That defensive front, they can go at it with anybody. Dylan Stewart obviously has popped as a freshman, but Kyle Kennard on Saturday against LSU. Will Campbell, a first-round pick. LSU's left tackle will be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. Kyle Kennard made him crazy on Saturday. Kyle Kennard won his share against the guy that's going to hear his name in the first round of the NFL draft, Will Campbell. Will Campbell's pass blocking grades were scouting term. That's how good Kyle Kennard played on Saturday, getting after the quarterback and making Will Campbell his day a living hell. So the defense, this defense is, I feel like after watching what the South Carolina defense has done against 2 SEC opponents, you got to feel good moving forward. Got to feel good. Shane Beamer coming up at 1 o'clock with Shane's Presser, like he does every Tuesday. sponsored by Crescent Construction. That is coming up in about 16 minutes. Also, Firehouse Subtext the hour. We're going to look at our Twitter X poll as well at 803-404-6100. It's a halftime show. Terry Ford, David Dare steering the ship till Tyler gets back from Firehouse in Lexington. We're here till 3 on the game. We'll be checking our Twitter X poll here in a second, but I was going to it on my phone. Saw a very interesting post from Brett McMurphy, who does just a heck of a job covering college football for the Action Network. Brett McMurphy's tweet, Tennessee will add a 10% talent fee on all football tickets starting next season. This fee will go to players, help fund the proposed revenue share with the players as well. So, Tennessee adding a 10% talent fee to tickets next year. That way, that is baked in to putting money toward revenue share and NIL and things of that nature for the players moving forward. Again, smart move. It's the world we live in. We can all hate it, not like it, be annoyed by it, but when it's all said and done, again, this is the world we live in. And you're going to have to pay to play in the SEC. All right, Twitter X poll. Poll question of yesterday. The biggest positive, that's today. Let's get, yesterday was basically the number one reason South Carolina lost. And we thank you very much for your participation because a ton of you participated. Many, many, many. We had like almost 4,000 views. We had over 700 votes. And I'm ready. Sit down for this. This is shocking. Over 60% said it was the officiating. It was the number one reason South Carolina lost. Twitter X poll for today. Biggest positive takeaway from Saturday for South Carolina. Offensive execution, defensive pressure versus LSU, Rocket Sanders, or other. This one's close. 33% said offensive execution. 30% said pressure against LSU's offensive tackles. And then 31% Rocket Sanders. So it's very even right now across the board. We had a comment. Team is improving as a whole. I would vote other. So we appreciate you so far. Almost 1,000 views already and 128 votes. Please keep jumping into that. So we thank you very much. Look who's here.
I'm here.
Did you grab yourself a sub for the road?
Yeah, what was left. They did it. They did us good today.
I'm going to tell you what. We thank Larry.
Yep.
Larry's phenomenal.
There's the man.
And, you know, that location, thumbs up every time.
It's a home game for me and Josh.
I was going to say, you guys live in the same house together, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
You and your wife and Josh and his wife, you guys just kind of...
I will say I've accidentally thought I was ordering at that location, and it turned out to be the other, I guess technically West Columbia location.
On your app?
On the app. And then I get there and like, we don't have your order. Oh, I got to drive 20 minutes the other way instead.
I was going to say, that stinks.
So be mindful of the address when you order on the Firehouse Sub app.
You're the only person that's ever done that.
But that's the user error, not me. Not the app itself.
Yeah, we blame that on you. But you're the only person that's ever done that, by the way. The rest of us have never done that. Where you get to the place and you're like, oh, we don't have your order.
Wrong place.
Bleep. But yeah, today
I ordered in Lexington, Kentucky.
I'll be damn. I'll be back later. I'll be back in 7 hours. Honey, see me in 14 hours. But yeah, that was, man, I never tried the steak till today.
I had not tried the Cajun chicken, surprisingly, until today. It's a regular menu item. I gave it a shot. I'm not like crazy about spice. I eat it. My wife's bigger into spicy food, but like that was good. Nice little heat with the jalapenos.
Yeah, I'm not, spice and I don't get along very well.
That's understandable.
But I did with the
Captain's Club. Yeah, I had that last time.
And I had to do the hook and ladder because we run the commercial and that stupid song's in my head.
Hook and ladder, yeah.
I'll walk around going, hook and ladder. What am I doing? That was really good, too. And I tried the club. And then, of course, I had to... hook and ladder, did the captains, and then I did the steak. Yeah, my work was done.
Yeah.
I love Josh. Josh was like, I've only had 5 so far.
It's weird how everybody wants to show up for those remotes.
Strange, isn't it?
I know, right?
Even our engineer showed up.
Just happened to be in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everything was sound technically.
Oh, yeah. All good.
So, again, thanks to Larry and all the folks in Lexington at the Firehouse location there. It's right by the flight deck. Can't miss it. Just can't miss it. So we appreciate it as Wes, Chris, and Tyler, Gamecock Central, taking over the Firehouse Sub location there in Lexington. All right, 803-404-6100. What do you got there on the old Firehouse Sub text line? You got a sec? Can you hit it?
Let me see if I can get this up fast.
Go ahead. And while you're doing that, I'll say Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest, $400. I said $300 earlier. It's $400 this week. Go to 1075thegame.com to register. And you got to register every week. And this week, if there's a special team score by the Gamecocks, someone will win $400. Again, we would do the drawing at 7:30 Monday morning on the early game if there is a touchdown on Saturday. Shane Beamer coming up here in about 5 minutes, sponsored by Crescent Construction. So we got that coming up as well at 1 o'clock. And boy, look at that. You got weaseled out of the text.
I'll make it up next hour.
Shane's coming up next. We'll hear what the ball coach has to say about Akron moving forward and what happened last Saturday versus LSU. We'll get injury updates, obviously, on Lenore Sellers and others. Shane Beamer Presser is coming up next right here on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia and in Myrtle Beach. It is The Game. halftime show with Terry Ford, Tyler Head, Shane Beamer coming up with the 1 o'clock Tuesday presser, sponsored by Concrete Construction. You know, I could say it, but let's play the fun sounder, Tyler, and get this thing going officially, man.
Now, let's hear from the coach. Shane Beamer's press conference, sponsored by Crescent Construction, the official roofer of the Gamecocks.
Now let's go right now. Shane Beamer at the podium for his Tuesday presser right here on the Game in Columbia.
Here, before we move on, I know I said it after the game. I said it in the teleconference on Sunday. I posted something on social media, but just wanted to thank our fans again for last Saturday. What an amazing experience to be part of, to get to coach in from College game day to even before Saturday, Friday, the environment around Gamecock Park when we walked across the street to the walkthrough, Saturday with College game day, Saturday in the stadium. It's what college football was all about, and thanks to our fans for that. We had 52 players at the game, recruits that we've offered scholarships to. So 52 recruits with scholarship offers from South Carolina were at that game, and that's all they could talk about. And then I mentioned last week that on Monday nights we take an hour as a staff and just FaceTime prospects, and a lot of the ones that we talked to last night that weren't here on Saturday but were watching on television, all they could talk about was the environment they saw on College game day, the environment they saw during the game. So thanks to our fans for that. And as we told every single prospect, this won't be the last time that College game day's here. That won't be the last time that we play on a national stage. And I think I just read that it was the most watched noon SEC game in 7 years, 6 years, something like that. So won't be the last time this season that we're in big time environments like that as well. So we'll continue to need our fans, and so grateful for them as well. Having said that, got to move on. Can't let last Saturday linger. It's behind us. Nothing we can do about it now. And we're full speed ahead on Akron, and they have our full attention. If you know anything about, college football, there's the Sun Belt Conference that is knocked off a bunch of teams, and I went through the dang near the history of the Sun Belt Conference before Old Dominion. You don't have to go through the history of the MAC. I can, but if you just look at this season, you can look at what Toledo did to an SEC team on Saturday. You can see what Bowling Green almost did to Penn State a couple weeks ago, lost to Penn State by 7 in State College. You can look at what Northern Illinois did to Notre Dame a couple weeks ago. And then just this Akron team alone, they're playing Ohio State in Columbus, and it's 17-3 with a little under 9 minutes left in the third quarter. So this is a team that presents a lot of problems. Don't know Coach Moorhead well, but have a ton of respect for him and have as a coach for a long time. He's obviously familiar with this league from having been in the SEC. And then just I'm finding out more and more about him. I've always enjoyed watching his offenses, but just finding out more and more about him. I did not realize, you guys that have been here for a while, David will remember this one, the infamous Papa John's Bowl in Birmingham in 2009. Coach Moorhead was, I believe, the offensive coordinator for Connecticut that day, and found out last night, I didn't even know this, that he and Clayton White worked together at Connecticut. And Robbie Ashford just told me on the field that Coach Moorhead was his offensive coordinator when Robbie was at Oregon. So all kinds of things that I'm finding out about in addition to the respect that I already have for him as a coach. Enjoy watching his offenses, and he presents a unique style of football. Offensively, they're playing two quarterbacks, and not just like put one quarterback in the game and take the other one out, but put both quarterbacks in the game and run their offense. And it's a lot that our defense will have to prepare for. Coaches are thieves, so when it comes to two quarterback systems, I've seen some things that I like for us that, who knows, we may run this week that we stole from them. So they're really good from that standpoint. Defensively, they present problems. They play really, really hard. They made it really tough on Ohio State to run the football in the first half. And then special teams-wise, very aggressive, very opportunistic, attempt to block kicks when we kick field goals, extremely aggressive trying to block our field goal, extremely aggressive trying to block punts, and they do a good job and have good players as well. So another challenge for us, it's opportunity number 4 for us, and had a good practice this morning, I thought, and didn't see any signs of Saturday lingering. Obviously, Saturday and Sunday was tough, no question about it, and but we're excited to get the opportunity to go compete again in Williams-Brice on Saturday night, which I know everyone's excited about as well, being across the street on Saturday night. Health-wise, certainly physical football game against LSU last Saturday. As we sit here on Tuesday, optimistic that all of our key guys will be able to play. Everybody did a little bit today to a certain degree, and I think they'll all be able to do degree more tomorrow, and then we'll see as we go as we get closer to Saturday from a health standpoint where we are. Questions?
Shane, playing kind of a hypothetical after the injury report, but if Linares couldn't go or you guys elect to rest him, I'm assuming Robbie would be number one?
Yeah, and we told Robbie and Davis they'll continue to compete this week, and Linares assures me he's good and will be ready to roll. But Robbie went into the LSU game as the second quarterback and came out of the LSU game as the second quarterback. He'll be better for it. Davis is someone that we have a lot of confidence in. There's no question about it, and we'll continue to develop everybody at every position.
And where would Luke Doty fit in, if at all, to quarterback?
He'd be in the mix as well. I think we'd be, dumb not to. And the thing with Luke all along, David, has been you go focus on receiver and special teams, but you're not getting too far away from quarterback. And Luke's a smart kid. I mean, he. We've gotten him some reps at quarterback periodically throughout the season already, and he doesn't miss a beat when he goes in there.
With Lenore saying that he'll be ready, do you guys have to, as a staff, training staff, coaching staff, whoever, have to maybe try to protect him from himself since there's still a longer season to play beyond just this week?
Yeah, but we're trying to win a game Saturday night, and that's not going to be easy either. And I know it's easy to say, well, this is not an SEC team, and they're 1-2, and they lost to Ohio State and Rutgers. This team presents problems, and we've got to do what we have to do to win the football game on Saturday. But certainly we're always going to do what's best for our players and our football team. But we've got a bunch of competitors, and Saturday, Linares wanted to play in that game. I didn't think it was best for him or the team for him to finish the second half. From a health standpoint, I just didn't think he was where he needed to be. So certainly if a guy's where he needs to be, and any position, quarterback or kicker or whatever, if they feel like they're where they need to be in order to play, and we feel like they're where they need to be, then we're going to get them out there for sure.
Coach, with respect to you and your team moving on, did you receive any feedback from the SEC about the officiating from Saturday?
I did. I know Coach Tanner had some conversations on Sunday, and typically if we send in plays each week, we usually get them back Monday night, and I got them back Monday night and watched. It's a video they send of the plays that we sent in, and then it's the plays sent back to you with a voiceover of the play, and received that last night about 9 p.m.
I think you talked, it was either Saturday or Sunday, about needing, to get the run game more going outside of Rocket. How do you feel about how that's going this week, and how do you prepare to, try to get more guys in this week if you want to do that?
Yeah, one, we got to be able to play more. And we've been in games where we felt comfortable with Rocket, not just because of Rocket's ability as a running back, but Rocket from a pass protection standpoint, he's really good. And we like him in there. We just have a lot of confidence in him. But we the biggest thing, we were in a dogfight Saturday, Jack, and it's hard to take guys out. And we got other guys in there. I mean, other running backs played, and Oscar was in there some. But I've coached running backs at two different schools, and you can't just ask one guy to play 60, 70 plays every game at that position. He's going to get worn down. So, one, we've got to be able to get other guys in there, whether that's Oscar, whether that's Juju, whether that's Jawarn Howell, Matthew Fuller. All those guys Brad Dunn, all those guys have been on every trip with us. They went to Kentucky. They've been in uniform and dressed out every game. They've got to continue to come along, or we feel comfortable putting them in there. But we've also got to be willing to just throw them in there and let them continue to develop and get better as well.
Shane, going back to Matt's question about the SEC response, did you feel satisfied at all by their response? And I mean, how you've got to, I guess you got to flush it one way or another to look forward to what's going on. What's the purpose of some of this? if it really doesn't have any effect on what the outcome will be?
I thought I was going to get off easy with my answer on the first one as well. Dang it. It doesn't matter kind of what I said or what I think. The voiceover comes back from John McDade. He's the head of officials who was a referee in this league and was a referee way back in the Big East days when my dad was coaching, and someone that I've got great respect for. And if I pick up the phone and call him, he'll answer the phone year round, so I've got a great relationship with him. And Jason, the head referee in that game Saturday, I've got great respect for him. He's very professional and great to deal with on game days. That's a lot of the times when we don't send in plays after a game, it's honestly thinking that, like, what's the point? I know they missed it, so why do I need to send it in as well? So we don't send in a lot of plays. We did this week because, frankly, there were a lot that I wanted some clarification on that I disagreed with or wasn't sure what they were calling or why this was a penalty. And some of them from Saturday were ones where we got flagged for this, but if we had done this, would we have still been flagged? Stuff like that, things that I'd had questions about. So there were some certainly that I maybe didn't like what he said, but I get it. There were some that I absolutely was on board with his response, and then there were a couple that, frankly, we can agree to disagree on some of them as well. But all good. I appreciate their responses and know that officials have a tough job, and there's a lot of plays in that game, and I'm sure LSU was upset with a lot of the things that maybe weren't called on their end. Who knows? But in the end, it's just like I told our team, officiating didn't decide the game. And were there some impactful plays? Absolutely. Absolutely. And more than in one game than I can remember. But at the same time, if we just do what we're supposed to do and not even put it in officials' hands, it's a whole different story.
I guess speaking on those types of penalties, what do you do after a week like that in terms of the procedural stuff, the false starts, the offsides? Do you tweak anything in how you guys practice, anything you emphasize? What does that look like?
No, we talk about it. We try and educate it. We've done different things around here, even in practice. And going back to last season, to be honest with you, we had some. We wanted to be, I think 21 and 22, we were really good, one of the fewest penalized teams in the league. 23, we crept up and we weren't as good in 23. So one of the things I did this offseason was looked at the 10 least penalized teams in the country. And if I told you guys this previously, I apologize for repeating the story, but I just called the head coaches of 10 of the least penalized teams in the country and called Jim Harbaugh and called PJ Fleck and called, I'm trying to think who else, Tom Herman was down at FAU, and who else? Wake Forest was one of those. Someone else. There were 5 of them that I talked to, and just, hey, what do you do in practice if you have a false start or you have an offsides? And we've tweaked some things that we do in practice when we have them than what we had done compared to what we had done last year. I think in a situation like that, it's really just trying to go back and educate, and clearly we have to do a better job. We had 2 offsides penalties that are maddening in critical situations, and one of them was before a 2-minute warning, where 2-minute timeout, I think that's the proper language, that they probably weren't even going to snap the ball. And it's stuff that we've practiced in August and walkthroughs, and we've talked about, hey, with the 2-minute timeout this year, it makes sense for teams to just run up to the line and try and draw you offsides because they don't have to snap the ball. Clearly, I didn't do a good enough job of conveying that in the walkthroughs because it happened to us on Saturday. Or we had a penalty for a receiver not being set when the ball was snapped, and that's something that we've talked about a lot. Like, we got to get set, but quarterbacks, you got to look outside to the widest and make sure they're set before we snap the ball. And clearly meaning me, we haven't done a good enough job of getting that message across. So we just continue to emphasize it even more, and then just try and educate on penalties. I've been a part of a lot of different things where the whole team goes out on the practice field on Sundays and runs out to they circle up and they say, hey, I'm Jordan Kay and I cost the team 15 yards and my bad. And then the whole team does 15 up downs. I mean, I've done that. I've done you run for penalties. I've done where you watch a penalty tape of the penalties. I've done where you don't even talk about them. I've been a part of all of it in my 25 years as a coach. So, I feel good about where we are. We've just got to do a better job of coaches of emphasizing it and really getting the message across.
First drive of the game against LSU was really methodical. You guys were able to score, and it looks like a big jump from where you guys were in the opener. Where have you seen the most improvement from this offensive unit just from practice to week 1 to now?
Yeah, I think just continuing to get just more and more comfortable and confident, and that's what's going to happen when you are basically starting 3 freshmen in a lot of ways and a redshirt freshman quarterback. When you talk about Mazio, Josiah, Mike Smith, receivers in camp and Dre that weren't here in the springtime, with each rep, each game, they're just going to continue to get more and more confident and comfortable, and that's what I saw. To the offensive staff, they spent a lot of time at the end of the week talking about how we want to open the game, whether, whatever you want to call it, scripting the first 10 plays, but, openers that we really want to get to early in the game and having a plan. And certainly on Saturday, I thought Lenoris did a good job of making good decisions, and I said it on the teleconference Sunday night. The first play of the game where we pulled it and dropped the ball off to Josh in the flat was a nice way to start the game, and it also happened to be the last play of the game as well. So just good decision making, clicking, efficient, players getting more and more comfortable with what we're asking them to do, but then also getting more and more comfortable with the scheme. And we're running essentially, the run game changes a lot week to week. Not so much schematically, but formationally and schemes a little bit. But the passing game is essentially we do the same thing. We just kind of dress it up each week and add a shift, a motion, a new formation or whatnot. So I think guys are just continuing to get more and more comfortable with what we're asking them to do. But no, that was a nice drive when you can go right down the field and punch it in for 7 points. I'm feeling pretty good at that point.
Coach, back on week after penalties, how, to the best of your knowledge, are some of your players doing, like Kyle and these other guys that were on the receiving end of these crucial penalties? How are they doing mentally, again, to the best of your knowledge?
Yeah, I think good. There were some. We were on a national stage Saturday, and it's one thing that I worry about as a coach. They're players, yes, but I care about these guys as young men, and certainly no one felt worse about Saturday than what Kyle did, and that's a shame because he played his rear end off on Saturday and did a heck of a job, and he apologized to the team in the locker room after the game, and I know he was upset about it, and says a lot about him that he came in here and stood in front of you guys and talked about it today as well. So yeah, you worry about him. Alex Herrera is a heck of a kicker. As a coach, I worry about Alex because he feels terrible about the end of the game, and you worry about him when he's outside this building and what people have to say or whatnot. But we all know that game didn't come down to one play. We all had a hand in it, myself included, and could have been better. And then you really just wrap your arms around all these guys, and we all have each other's backs, and that's essentially what it is. And we had an opportunity to win that game because of everybody, and we need everybody going forward.
Hey, Coach. I was wondering what kind of problems does a team like Akron that runs a lot of non-traditional sets, especially on offense, present to a team that's otherwise kind of in the thick of conference play like you guys are?
Yeah, it's different. The 2-quarterback thing they're doing really is unique. I mean, they're all over the place with that, and like I said, pretty cool some of the stuff they've done with it, and then the quarterback. I mean, he's been around. They're experienced guys, and then they got receivers that can run, and running backs that complement each other well. A tight end that's their leading receiver, so they present a lot of problems. And Coach Moorhead is an offensive guy. I mean, it's why he got the head coaching job at Mississippi State, was because of the offenses that he was running at Penn State, and they were just lighting people up, So he's schematically, he does a great job, and they've got good players as well. So it's what we talked about as a team this morning, myself to the team in the team meeting, was our defense has really got to be, locked in on what's going on from a mental standpoint, because these guys can make you look silly in a second if you're not.
I know last time you talked about him individually, you said Mazio, like something, just the lights go on and he's competitive. Just talking a little bit more about him and I guess what he brings as a player, as a person to this offense that's really just continuing to evolve week to week.
Yeah, I just think kind of the same thing. He gets more and more confident. He's got a great competitive spirit about himself. He's physical in the run game, and that's what I love. When we're asking him to block, a lot of times you see receivers, but particularly freshman receivers, in high school they were asked to go get open and catch the ball, and now we're asking him to go in there and crack block legally on safeties that are or linebackers that are in the box, and he's going in there and he's throwing his body around, and he's really he's a lot like the rest of our freshman class, just mature beyond his years and a great competitor and just really enjoys playing the game. And I think you see that at practice, and you certainly see it on Saturdays.
This is the last time you guys are going to play for 2 whole weeks. Is there one thing or maybe a couple things besides obviously winning the game that you kind of want to see from your team just going into the bye week to feel like you're kind of on track before a break?
A win. Honestly, beyond that, certainly coming out of this game with a win, coming out of this game healthy, and really just we've got. We talked about it as a team this morning that we're now fourth of the way through the regular season, and after Saturday we're going to be a third of the way through the regular season, and how quickly can we get better? And each day is getting closer and closer to the end of the regular season. So I'd love to come out of this game on Saturday healthy with a win, but also just really feeling like we've gotten better, and you're seeing signs of that. I just mentioned with some of the receivers and Fred Johnson, what he's as a freshman, he's doing a good job from a special team standpoint, and David Busey's a true freshman playing on a lot of our special teams, and he continues to get better. So just really feeling that we've made progress, we came out healthy, and we won the game, most importantly.
Hey, Shane, you mentioned in your opening comments about the excitement of playing the first game at Willie B. What's going to be your message to some of the young guys? I think it was last year there was a story about someone who really got a little maybe too caught up in the lights and sandstorm. What are some of the most interesting reactions you've seen from a young player the first time going through that?
Honestly, nothing too crazy this year, I don't think, Rick. I think they've really handled themselves pretty well, I think. I wish I had something better for you. I mean, that was pretty wild. And I mean, I think I saw more, wide eyes and excitement from some of the new coaches on Saturday than maybe some of the freshman players. That's one thing I like about this group. They may, they're hyped up and they're emotional, but they're very, businesslike and matter of fact throughout. And I can't think of anything that was too crazy on any of these games, but particularly Saturday. All of our guys were excited, and we wanted them to embrace that environment and certainly enjoy it because they've worked hard to get to play in it.
You spoke about Alex. What do you say to him specifically this week so that the end of Saturday's game doesn't affect his confidence long-term going forward?
Just that. I mean, I called him after the game when I was driving home just because I wanted him to know he hit a good kick. I mean, it wasn't like he hit like a crap kick that never had a chance. He hit a really good kick and just barely pulled it. And you can tell by his reaction with Kai and a lot of the people in the end zone, a lot of people thought he made it. My wife was down in the tunnel, I think, and she thought he made it. And so he just hit a good kick. So my message to him was, one, you're a big-time kicker, and you've hit some big-time kicks already this year, and you're going to hit some more big-time kicks to help us win football games as this season goes. Keep your head up, and, wish we could have gotten you a little bit closer there to have an even better kick. But as I mentioned on Sunday night, I mean, we were trying to get to the 35-yard line, I believe was like the max point, and felt really good about being at the 30. So we were certainly in range and felt great about his ability to hit that kick. And he hit a good one, just missed it a little bit. But that was just a message that, keep your head up. And we were in that position because of you too, and some of the kicks he had hit earlier in the game also.
It's been through 3 games, you guys have given up 13 sacks, and it doesn't seem like it's just one thing, certainly not the offensive line. How much of that is, I guess for the people who just want to put it on one thing, how much of it is the scheme? Is it running backs, position guys not blocking? Is it the quarterback just holding onto the ball too long? Can you kind of describe what has gone into those 13 sacks?
Yeah, it's too many. You can look at stats and skew stats any way you want, but 13 sacks is 13 sacks. And through 3 games, it's not what we want. Now, we've played some pretty good defenses as well. Let's give them a little bit of credit. And I do think those statistics, balance out and even out as the year goes, as everybody starts playing similar competition throughout the season. But certainly it's way too many. And I think you have to look at everything. It's not just one position. It's what you just mentioned. It's all of the above. It's tight ends. It's running backs. It's the one we got hit and strip sacked on the other day was the running back and the tight end. We've had some with the offensive line. So I think when you have 13, you've got to certainly look at everything. Like, what are we asking our guys to do schematically? Checking at the line of scrimmage, which we've done some of that. Personnel-wise, just a guy getting beat. We've had some of that, but certainly, when 13 about what, 3 a game, a little over 3 a game, I guess. Is that right? Yeah, I was never good at math. It's not a good figure, and that was one of the things that we said going into Saturday against LSU was we know what. We've had too many negative plays against Missouri the last 3 seasons, and they've sacked us, and they did a good job on Saturday. But I think it's more, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a combination of everything. We just got to do a better job, and certainly can't give up 3 a game on average.
Shane, you guys are wearing the throwback uniforms this week. How do those come about? Did you have input into that, or just how was that decided?
Yeah, very little. Larry Waters, our head of equipment, came to me. It was probably about this time last year, David, and showed me pictures of, hey, Under Armour University wants to do a throwback game. This is what they're going with. Are you good with these uniforms? And if it was this time of year, we were probably getting ready to play Mississippi State, I think, about this time last year. And I think he came to me like on a Monday or Tuesday night. And at that point, I could really give two what's about what uniform we were going to be wearing in 2024. So I think I looked at it and I said, that's cool. Let's roll. And then I didn't really think about it again until he showed me the helmet back in July, I believe. Here's what the helmet's going to look like, and here's the uniform, and here's the pants. And then I think we put something on social media back in August. Luke walked in our team meeting room and showed the team what it looked like. So to answer your question, I didn't have a lot of input other than just looking at it and saying that looks great. But our players are excited, and it's great to be able to honor that era of Gamecock football with that uniform, which will be pretty cool.
Kind of random questioning here, but there's an online analytics company that measured Rocket and Lenoris running over 20 miles an hour. Were those numbers accurate?
Yes. We had Lenoris at 20 point something, and we had Rocket at 21.1. Is what we had. So we actually recognized him in the team meeting this morning. We had 4 players over 20 miles an hour on Saturday, and Rocket was our fastest at 21.1. So kudos to him. Who'll be the first to tell you he probably came in not the best physical condition when he got here. So kudos to him and our training staff and nutrition and strength and conditioning staff that he was able to do what he was able to do Saturday and run 21.1 miles an hour.
Who were those other guys? Was Bengali Kamara one? Because there was one player where it looked like he
was who?
Kamara?
I don't know if he was. It was him. It was King Ford was one of them. Mo Brown, I believe, was one of them. And there's another one, and he's going to kill me because I can't remember who it was. I forget. If I'll let you know if I've still got the sheet in my office. If I am forgetting somebody, I'll let you know. And Kamar Bell, an offensive lineman, he had a personal speed best. He ran. I want to give some love to the big guys. He ran 18.6 miles an hour, which is pretty dang sporty for an offensive guard.
That was going to be my guess, him or Torricelli.
Yeah.
For the other guy.
Both those guys roll. I would have guessed Torricelli too because he can roll. All those guys can run. Josiah, Vershawn. I'll give Kaysen a little bit of credit, but yeah, Kamar 18.6. So he was. The team was excited about that too when we recognized him.
With ball security, what are you seeing on tape over the last few weeks that has kind of been the result of these fumbles? And you, as a coach, how do you go about trying to coach that a little better to reduce that number?
Yeah, that one's hard for me too because that's all we talk about. And in practice, y'all have been out there. We do some sort of, we call it turnover tackle circuit, but we call it, stiff arm, where you sideline and back. Y'all have seen us do that, and everybody works on stiff arm in with ball security. And then the other one we call is called stumble bum, where you run and your hand goes down to the ground, and the defender is trying to pop it out. We do what we call double ball, where you put 2 balls in each hand, and a lot of college teams do this. But that drill, we have other drills that we do for that. We do it every Tuesday and Wednesday during practice. And then in addition, after that's over, we always start practice like today with a takeaway circuit where the defense works on taking the ball away, but then also another ball security circuit just for the offense. So we kind of going back to the penalties. We've just got to do a better job of emphasizing it. But to answer your question, I think, we've put the ball on the ground 7 times in the last 2 games. You're not going to survive doing that. And a lot of them is just, Dowd will tell you and the quarterbacks will tell you they've got to be better with their ball security, not hanging on to the ball too long in the pocket. And when you are in the pocket, making sure we're using the techniques that we want you to. When you are running it, make sure you're carrying the ball the way that we teach you to carry it. The one happened with Josh the other day. We'd love for that ball. If it was over there on their sideline, I think that ball was in his inside hand, if I'm not mistaken. And we teach, to get that ball in the outside hand because the pursuit's coming from inside out. So it's frustrating, but again, at the same time, it's something that we're emphasizing, but we've got to do a better job of emphasizing it for sure.
Coach, I know you've had some other receivers emerge, but I was just curious, what does Nick Harbor look like on the practice field? I know you want to scheme for him, and I know defenses are aware of him. What does it look like out there Monday through Thursday with Nick Harbor?
It looks like a guy that's working hard to continue to get better, and a guy that works hard to continue to learn what we're asking him to do, and a guy that's working hard to catch the ball consistently, just like all of our receivers are, and every player that we have. It looks like he's out there working really, really hard to be a great player, because it's very important to Nicholas to be a great receiver, and he's doing a really good job on special teams, covering kicks for us, and I was on the kickoff return team the other day and did some things on offense, and we'll continue to get better along with the rest of our guys.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank y'all.
There's Shane Beamer, his weekly presser here on the game. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, as we get rid of my earbuds are all tangled. Interesting. I don't know how that happens. I laid them down straight. I'll blame David Dare.
That's fine.
There we go. There we go. Shane's presser every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Again, nothing earth-shattering there at all. Obviously, Tyler, Shane's not going to get up. Okay, here's the game plan for Akron. Let's go over it together.
Yeah.
Not going to happen. The injury thing, obviously, Lenora Sellers. You feel like you'll see Sellers start against Akron on Saturday?
If he's 100%, then that's fine. As we talked a little bit earlier, anything less for that, certainly up for debate. Because the last thing you want to do is re-aggravate the injury to where you don't have him against Ole Miss or Alabama, because I can tell you the confidence level is going to drop quite a bit if he's not out there playing. So you really got to be careful how you handle that. And again, not wanting to give away the game plan. I don't think even if he was maybe not as healthy as he
not
should be.
saying
You're not
anything.
going to say that on Tuesday because guess what? Akron's going to like, all right, we're going to start scheming for Robbie Ashford.
Yeah,
Then.
I think that if Sellers is close to 100%, he plays. Now we talked about this the other day. If he's 64.324%, don't play him.
Yeah, well, and
Very
also,
simple.
and also, if you do play him and he's maybe only 90%, maybe you're not running him. Maybe saying, all right, you're going to hand the ball off, you're going to throw it, and we're going to try and keep you clean as much as possible to alleviate the possibility of an injury.
Hopefully, you get a nice big lead early and you get him out of the game.
Exactly.
But that way, he gets his run because he still needs reps. He needs reps. Is he getting better? Sure, but he still needs to play. But you can't play him if he's still injured, obviously. So, and if he isn't near 100%, again, if you like Shane said, now I thought this was interesting. There'll be a competition between Robbie Ashford and Davis Bevel. I thought that was, and again, coaches talk about competition all the time. Maybe that is just we're going to have a competition, but I know deep down inside Robbie Ashford will start. But we're having a competition.
You are, and I think it's definitely a different kind of conversation if this were going into a conference game. Say you were playing A&M or Missouri or something like that. Then maybe you say, okay, well, Ashford's been our number 2 guy. He's going to stay number 2. But this weekend against Akron, again, not trying to disrespect the Zips, but on paper, they're a team that South Carolina, we said the same thing about Old Dominion, so you never know, shouldn't have a problem beating. That being said, if you're going to take a chance on maybe starting somebody else at quarterback, now be the one who say, okay, well, let's see exactly what we have to make sure that this is the way we want to go.
And so Akron got boat raced by Ohio State in the opener, lost by 30 to Rutgers.
Yeah.
Then was down 17 to 3 against the Toothpaste.
No, so it was a 17-3 game against Ohio State in the third quarter.
I thought Colgate, they were down against Colgate and came back.
They may have. I still got to go back and watch that one.
See. I believe they were down 17-3 and made some big comeback to beat Colgate. So I mean, they're not a very good football team. Let's get that out of the way. But like we said, Old Dominion should have been a lot easier than it was. And it was not. So you can take nothing for granted. But Akron, if you look at it, they came out, they beat Colgate 31-20 in a game. They were down 17-7 to Colgate.
Okay.
And came back and won. Or maybe 17-0. I don't know. 17-7 in the first quarter. Colgate was up, and then Akron went on a 24-3 run the rest of the game. Now, let's see here. Yeah, 17-0 in the first half, down to Colgate.
Okay.
Then came back and won and got smacked around by Rutgers and Ohio State. And by the way, one of the themes of those two games is teams ran the football.
Yes.
On Akron. And in the Colgate contest, Colgate did not really run it a whole lot with any kind of success. But Ohio State and Rutgers did. So the point is, you should be able to run the ball against Akron. So maybe if Lenore Sellers plays, maybe he's not throwing it a ton, and maybe Rocket Sanders and Oscar Attaway and Juju McDowell and, Cocky and whoever else can go run for a lot of yards. And, you can have that kind of a day. And the offensive line gets to knock people around, and it's happy, happy, fun time. So we'll see. But Akron is just not very good. But we thought Old Dominion was going to be pretty easy as well. So we shall see. And it would be kind of an eyebrow raiser if you saw Davis Bevel run out there and start on Saturday.
Yeah, and now if he provides you the opportunity to throw the ball better, that does make sense. If I had to bet right now, I'd probably say they'd stick with Ashford. But you never know. And again, it all boils down to how healthy is Lenore Sellers, and do you feel comfortable putting out there, and if you're not running the risk of him aggravating the ankle injury worse, because you're going to need him at 100% health in 2 weeks against Ole Miss and then Alabama and Oklahoma and every other game after that. So if you can give him the day off on Saturday and feel like you're still okay, you definitely wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah, if he's not close to 100%, in a perfect world, you could start Ashford or Bevel or whoever and still go out there and handle your business. We'll see. It all depends on how close to 100% Lenore Sellers is. Because, look, at the end of the day, you need him in those 3 games more than you need him against Akron.
Yep.
Even though he does need to play. You don't want to play him if he's nowhere near 100%. So we'll see where it goes this week. But Shane, right now, what Shane should be saying is, Sellers, he's fine. He's all good. He just finished kicking a 10K. He's fine. And also talking about getting his answers from the league office on the penalties Again, Shane, very general. Yeah, they showed us some stuff. I get some of it, but some of it I still don't understand.
Yeah, he didn't specifically say which calls were which on all that, so you can leave that up to your interpretation. And I don't think he was going to come away agreeing with everything that they said. And is the league office probably going to try and cover their own butts? Yeah, probably. Are there things they're willing to admit they did wrong? Sure, but they're not going to outright say, "Hey, we blew 7 calls in that game," or whatever it may be.
That's the thing. I was talking about this earlier while you were stuffing your face at Firehouse. Is the NBA does a thing called the 2-minute report.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically lay out the last 2 minutes of the game if the officials screwed up anything. That's the most transparency we see in sports is the NBA 2-minute report.
Yeah.
They got no problem taking a referee and go, come here a minute, why? We got to go to the train station.
Yeah.
I wish more sports would do something of that nature. This protection of officials, look, 50 years ago, whatever. They're the authority. You know what now? Everybody has got to answer today. That's called life. Everybody's answering to something, right?
Sure.
Nobody in the world of football, whether it's college or pro, athletic directors, GMs, coaches, players, owners, presidents, everybody's answering to something, right?
Sure.
Everybody's you're under a microscope, except for the officiating, which can turn games.
And it's not just not getting answers. You're not allowed to publicly criticize them either. So Pat Narduzzi got in trouble over the weekend, $5,000 fine for criticizing the officials for what happened in the backyard brawl against West Virginia. So if you can't get an answer from them, then at least allow the coaches to air their grievances, and that probably push forward some answers. Say, okay, well, you think we did this wrong. Here's our reasoning on that. And we just want discourse, right? Because it's so open and shut. At the end of the game, is okay, well, we know they messed up these 7 calls. Doesn't change anything, and they're not going to usually answer for it, at least in a public forum. And, whatever they told Coach Beamer, but that's not up, for us to be able to see because, the fans are the ones that paid money to see it. And again, you and I have talked about this. We're not saying that they had their pockets lined going into the game, like, all right, guys, make sure LSU wins this game at all costs. They just screwed up a bunch of calls, as you saw across the board, not only in the SEC, but all of college football and Saturday. It's a national talking point. Now, the South Carolina game had a lot to do with that, but there's tons of examples across all of college football of how bad officiating was this past weekend, and it sucks that there's nobody there to say, well, hey, here's what we screwed up. We could have done better at this, that, or whatever.
And there's 2 thoughts here. One, about the transparency, but first, before I forget, how great would it be if you every week had a coaching festivus, an airing of grievances?
I would pay for that.
How great would a coaching festivus be? Wow, that'd be so good.
Just like a Zoom call with all of them?
Yeah, all of them. They just all air their grievances. It's so cool. But the thing about this is why I say there should be transparency. I can sit in my living room, on my couch, wearing my Snuggie, and I can, with my cool HD TV, stop the game, rewind it, and watch a play in slow motion over and over again. I can go on YouTube and watch mostly everything I want to watch from a game over and over again. We see things, and for you as professional or collegiate entities to continue to hide behind a lack of transparency for officiating, refereeing, and umpiring like it's 1964 is asinine. We all can sit and see it. So come on, stop this mess. Get up and just address it. Every week address it. And be done with it. Because what you do now, you leave when you don't address it, the tinfoil crew takes over.
Yeah.
And you got to do so. And now you've got conspiracy theories. Oh, gamblers. Oh, the conference. Oh, fantasy football. Oh, all these people are conspiring to turn games because you're not being transparent with your officiating.
Right.
That's why you need to do it now. For all those reasons right there. It just makes too much sense. All right, Firehouse Up text of the hour, 803-404-6100. That is coming up. Also, speaking of officiating, Josh Pate had his thoughts on the state of officiating in college football we're going to get to as we do what's trending at 2 at the top of the hour, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. We'll come back, they'll hear from you. Firehouse Sub text the hour. We'll check our Twitter X poll as well. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, it is the halftime show as we run this baby up until 3 here on the game. Oh, coming up next hour, tickets to go see Korn tomorrow night in Charlotte. I could see you digging Korn.
I was actually more excited about the Breaking Benjamin part of that, but Korn's fine.
Yeah, Korn's okay. I'm okay with Korn.
Yeah, no,
it's not like I don't hate him, but I never said this. I need to see Corn.
Yeah, you give me tickets to Breaking Benjamin, though. I'm there.
A lot of folks dug Corn back in the day, though. So if you dug Corn, we're going to have tickets for you next hour to go tomorrow night to Charlotte to check out Corn and Breaking Benjamin. So you're digging the Breaking Benjamin part of that whole thing?
Yeah, I am. Big fan.
Nice. So that is coming up next hour here on the game. All right, Firehouse Sub Texas is. We'll do 2 since Tyler slacked on hour 1. 803-404-6100. What do you got, man?
Nameless texter weighed in and says, on the replay of the LSU game last night, they avoided showing a lot of the penalties. They barely showed the horse collar. So when I went through and rewatched the game, I made detailed notes on every penalty during the game. There were a couple that, they didn't show any clear evidence of penalties. The offensive pass interference on Harbor that got called in the second quarter, I didn't see anything there that warranted what the penalty was supposed to be. When they called pass interference, I think they called it on Mazio, but I just put it on some wide receiver on the Campbell catch.
Yes.
Also, no clear evidence on that. And then an offsides that was called, not the one that Kennard committed on the 4th down against LSU late in the game, but there was another offsides that was also never shown on a 2nd and goal for them that I never saw anything clear about who committed that penalty.
Yeah, it was just, again, we dug into it yesterday, head-scratching stuff, things that, again, it's a tough thing, like, for an example, with Kennard and the unsportsmanlike.
Unnecessary
roughness, sorry. And if you want to go by the letter of whatever you want to call it and say, well, quarterbacks are so protected, the minute you touch them, they flop over, everybody throws flags. But then how do you miss Sellers getting hit in the head on that interception?
Yeah.
I mean, that's my thing. It's like, if you want to call Kennard hitting Nussmeier unnecessary roughness, okay. I mean, okay, fine, whatever. But you can't miss the Sellers. You can't miss the Sellers getting hit in the head.
Yeah. And that's the point of all this, because we've stated our position on this many times, and a lot of people out there, and if this is the way you feel, that's up to you. If you feel that their vendetta on Saturday was to make sure South Carolina didn't win that game and LSU won, then that's your belief. But we just all want things to be fair, because there are crews out there that are going to throw more flags than other ones. I mean, you can talk to coaches on the staff that probably have statistics for every single referee that's going to be out there this Saturday saying, all right, they're more likely to throw this kind of penalty versus that one.
Oh, Vegas will tell you automatically the crews that
you've got these reports on these guys now knowing what they do. And there are going to be some that are more heavy-handed and some that are more lenient. You just want it to be a fair game. So,
yes, consistent.
If you want to call that thing on Kennard, okay, but you clearly missed the one that was a pretty high shot on Lenore Sellers as well. And that's one we didn't get the benefit of replay for seeing either. Because sometimes TV will catch things like, hey, wait a minute, this should have been a penalty. So we didn't, I think it was Chris that grabbed like a still frame of it as the camera was panning to the ball that catches it. So again, if you blinked and missed it in the crowd, you didn't see it. You just want things to be fair, because you don't want a game to come down to questionable officiating.
No, you don't. And that's the sad part is, plus, all this officiating stuff, look again, bad officiating didn't cause 17 missed tackles. Bad officiating didn't lead to you jumping off sides on a 4th and 3 or having a procedure penalty when you're trying to go on the field to kick a field goal that puts you 5 yards back. That could have made a difference in making and missing a field goal. It doesn't cause other things in this football game that led to you losing as well. But when you have officiating that's hot garbage, that's where everybody focuses. Because that's the only reason you lose. Now, did it contribute? Yeah, because there were some major calls in that game that took points off the board. And, again, that's a thing. But there's also many other reasons you got to look at that football game to say, okay, despite all that nonsense, if you'd have done this or this or this, you still could have won the game despite poor officiating. So like I say, I expect them to be bad every week.
Unfortunately.
Again, you've got 40 to 50-year-old men chasing around 18 to 24-year-old athletes in the prime of their physical condition, playing really fast in the best conference in college football. Does that jive to you?
It doesn't add up.
Why don't we, just for fun, we'll go get a random 50-year-old and have him go chase a random 22-year-old around. Let's see how it goes. How many of those guys are also wearing glasses?
A few.
So the context of this is ridiculous to begin with. why would you expect there's not going to be screw-ups? I expect screw-ups every week now because I just think what you're doing isn't the. I mean, I would start recruiting younger guys to be officials if it were me. There are younger dudes officiating sporting events all over the place. Start recruiting younger guys, put them through some kind of system where they go to the MAC or somewhere else and learn their craft to where, let's say, they're 30-some years old. You know what they're doing? They're officiating big-time football games, and you know what? They're in a little bit better shape than the 50-year-old guy.
Yeah.
To be able to deal with the game. By the way, Tyler, last time I checked, it's not getting any slower.
No, it's not. It's getting faster.
So... But anyway, appreciate the text like always, 803-404-6100. Corn tickets coming up next hour. Give you a chance to win, so be ready for that. What's trending at 2? We'll hear Josh Pate's thoughts on the state of college football officiating. By the way, Josh doesn't think it's very good either. We'll get to that. And David Cannell is the head coach in Tampa, Carolina. His thoughts on benching his starting quarterback, Bryce Young. It's all coming up on what's trending at 2. And more Carolina stuff from Shane today at the presser on the way on the game. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Hedden, just back from the Shane Beamer presser. Shane drop you off?
He did. He gave me a ride.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, it's got a nice vehicle. A little nicer than mine.
I'm scared. He's a little bit better ride than us.
Yeah, just a smidge.
I wonder if he got the cool car. Because, a lot of these coaches get the car when they take the gigs.
Cool car, or they stick with the SUV?
Yeah.
He's got kids.
Yeah, he does. He's got some kids.
Got to haul them around.
I'm guessing his SUV, though, is probably a little bit higher grade than...
Yeah, my mom drove a Honda Odyssey whenever I was.
Oh, that's minivan.
Yeah. So I'm sure it's a little different than the experience that I had growing up in terms of being dropped off from school or practice and place to place.
I won't lie to you. My ex loved minivans. I did not.
They're underrated. I think they're very underrated.
They're awful.
I would drive a minivan if I ever ended up reproducing and had children. I'd rock the minivan. I could do that. It's spacious in there.
Yeah, I would rather honestly triple them on the handlebars of my bike than drive a minivan. You remember that commercial? I don't know if you remember. It was a while back, maybe 10 years ago, where all these dudes are in the gym and they're all lifting and they're all like yoked. And then all of a sudden on the loudspeaker, would the person with the minivan please move it? It's blocking the loading zone. And all these guys start looking at each other like,
which one of you is it?
Who's got the minivan? That would be me. It's like I got nothing.
I'd proudly proclaim my minivan.
I won't
be like,
lie.
yeah, you guys are missing out. There's so much room in here. I can haul all of you back home if you wanted to. You got car issues? Oh, it's too bad. I won't be able to, help you out, but I can give you a ride because I got so much room in this minivan that not only can I give you a ride, but you have plenty of leg room.
Yeah. You're going to be selling that to no one. You understand that, right?
I'm selling it to myself. I'm doing a fantastic sales job to myself.
I remember, my ex had a minivan, and I would refuse to drive it like in town. I said, I'll drive it on trips, but the minute we get near the city, I'm pulling over, and you're taking it because nobody I know is going to see me driving this damn thing. So, and that's why her and I, cease to exist.
Man, I'd roll a thing around like the Mystery Machine. That'd be awesome.
Well, that's different. We can't get into that right now. But the Mystery Machine there were things in the Mystery Machine everybody wanted to be part of. And I'll leave it at that.
That's the Scooby Snacks, yes.
Exactly. All right, so you're over at Shane's Presser. We talked about the two things. We'll start with the health of Lenore Sellers. We'll see. It's Tuesday. We'll see what happens Saturday. It feels to me that if he's healthy enough, Sellers will go. There's not going to be, let's sit him out so he can rest Akron, bye week, and then come back for Ole Miss. I feel like if he's healthy enough, he'll play against Akron because he still needs reps.
Certainly. Yeah. I mean, we are a third of the way through the season right now. After Saturday, we will be our fourth way through the season. Got that backwards. And then after Saturday, we'll be a whole third of the way through the season. You'd like for him to have as many reps as possible because realistically, he's only played about the equivalent of 2.5 games of football right now, give or take, because he missed some snaps in the Kentucky game too. So those are also reps that he didn't get to take. You'd like to see him have as many of those as possible, but the hope is that he doesn't have to play more than a couple quarters, that you're just dropping the hammer on Akron's head so hard that you can throw Robbie Ashford and Davis Bevel out there to be able to make sure the offense is good enough to be able to take it home. That way you can go into the bye week as healthy as possible. And Shane was asked about, what are your goals in this outside of winning? Of course, it's the goal of every football game. But what your goals in this game are, and he mentioned staying healthy. And that's a big thing because if you're able to stay as healthy as possible, get a week of rest, and then you get to go into the next biggest game of the year as healthy as fully possible against a team that is going to come into Willie B as an absolute wagon, especially on the offensive side. Yeah, and you need to be as healthy as you can for that tilt against Ole Miss, especially because you're going to have to score. Mm-hmm. I mean, defensively, obviously you want to make big plays, turnover changing, havoc type plays, but Ole Miss is going to get their yards and they're going to get points. You just got to make enough big plays as a defense to help your offense, but your offense has got to score. Certainly. You've got to score. Look, kind of like the formula against LSU. Mm-hmm. You scored points, your defense got turnovers, your special teams blocked a punt, your offense had explosives. That's the kind of thing, if you want to keep up with a team like Ole Miss, it'd be nice to have some sustained drives that end in touchdowns too. Mm-hmm. That's where I think, and look, it's been like this ever since Shane's been here, though. With Satterfield, Dow, whoever, the explosive plays happen. It's a sustained offense where you take 12 plays to go 72 yards to get your touchdown. That's where it still has to get better because you got a 75-yard touchdown run, 66-yard touchdown run, but it would be nice to have 2 or 3 drives that were,
14 plays, 72 yards, ate up 6-7 minutes, and ended in touchdowns.
And you saw a little bit of that on Saturday, too, against LSU. Like in that first half, when Lenoris is fully healthy, that first drive of the game, you marched down the field methodically. Lenoris is making reads. I mean, that's why I asked Shane that, in the press conference, and he alluded to the first play of the game. That was the dump off to Josh Simon. I mean, Josh Simon had 2 catches for 28 yards, and I don't think either of those passes traveled more than a yard or 2 in the air past the line of scrimmage, right? But, I mean, that was a check down play that's high efficiency, that was able to work for a couple first downs and get you in a rhythm. He made the right read on that, and it wasn't, I guess the first read wasn't necessarily Josh Simon, but Lenoris, in a football sense, mature enough to be able to make that read, get something quick and easy, move the chains, and they marched down the field about as methodically as you could possibly hope for. And even in the second drive, you didn't result in a touchdown, but you were able to march down the field into field goal range and leave with points. You can't have empty possessions against Ole Miss and against Alabama, against Oklahoma, against Missouri, A&M. You're going to have to get as many possessions that end with points as possible. And like you said, that comes from sustained drives. They did those sustained drives, and then you did find a pass play explosive open up with the long pass to Jared Brown, which was the best pass I think any of us have seen Lenoris Sellers make.
Tight window throw, man.
In a
nice.
Gamecock uniform. And that opened up because teams are so focused in on the short game that you have through the air and how good your running game was going that an explosive play was just able to organically open up later on after you were able to put together a few of those drives. Like that's the probably I think the most promising thing you can take away from Saturday was that you saw improvement on that side of the ball, and with a defense that's going to keep you in every game imaginable, that is what's going to help you win those games that you're staying in.
Speaking of the opening drive, we haven't really gotten into that on the show here because we've been so busy talking about officials and officiating. That script was nice.
Oh, it was wonderful.
That script was nice in that first drive against LSU. They mixed things up really well. They did a bunch of different things. They were, it was just a really nice drive. And I like the fact that Sellers got a couple of easy completions, get yourself comfortable. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they ran the ball well. They did. It was a really nice script for LSU.
Oh, it was a beautiful script. And that's one that when Shane's talking about the offense's improvement from week 1 to week 3, he mentioned like the confidence that the younger guys are playing with, like that Lenoris Sellers is playing with, Mazeo Bennett, Michael Smith, Josiah Thompson at left tackle. They're playing with a lot more confidence because they finally have a lot of those reps underneath their belt, but now they're executing game plan. And especially when he specifically called out, executing the script for each game. And in a game like LSU, with all of that hype, all of that energy that was in that stadium, they were able to execute that game plan to a T. And if Dow Loggins is really in his bag and they're able to execute like that and they're able to be comfortable with the stuff that they're running, then that you're going to see that improvement gradually get larger and more noticeable as the season goes on.
We're hanging out here with Elijah Campbell, who will be hanging out with Jay here in just a little bit on the postgame show. Elijah over at Shane Beamer's presser. We were talking about that. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Gamecock Traditions and Traditions Fine Jewelry. Okay, back to the presser. Another thing I just thought was interesting, and look, it could just be coach speak, but when he said if Sellers couldn't go, then there's a competition between Robbie Ashford and Davis Bevel. It wasn't like, Robbie will start on Saturday. Now, again, you could just be saying that so everybody's preparing for multiple quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. You could be saying that because competition is good. Or what if it's real? That'd be fun if it was like a for real type of competition. I think, though, if you don't get Sellers, Ashford starts. That's just me.
I think so, too. But I do love the breadcrumb that he dropped earlier in the presser, too, when he's talking about Akron, why their offense can be maybe difficult to replicate and prepare for, is that they do run a 2-quarterback offense, not, one quarterback come in one series and the other one come in the next. They'll put both those dudes on the field at the same time. Mm-hmm. Very experimental, very interesting. And he mentioned I might want to steal some from that. Is he serious? Maybe he can. I mean, Robbie Ashford's a good runner of the football. I would say not even a good runner. He's a great runner of the football. If Davis Bevel is more of your passing option between the two, then maybe he gets creative in this game. I don't know. Who's to say? But he definitely dropped a little bit of a breadcrumb when it comes to his admiration of Akron, thinking outside the box, and Joe Moorhead, the head coach of Akron, thinking outside the box and having 2 quarterbacks on the field at the same time with different skill sets.
He also didn't put to bed the possibility maybe was he Luke Doty as well. That's a name that just never really goes away when it comes to quarterbacks around here.
That's true, too. There was a Luke Doty
I always
illusion in
give
there.
Shane credit. He finds a way to get Luke in there.
I love
always
it.
Does.
I love it. No,
it's so good.
That's the loyalty I respect.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, look. I mean, Doty was loyal to the program.
Yep.
He's
So-
paying it in return.
Yep.
And who knows? Maybe you get in the second half of the game, you're up a little bit. Maybe you do throw him out there, see what he does, or maybe experiment a little bit. This would be a
about
perfect
this?
game to experiment.
How about you have on the field at the same time Bevel, Ashford, and Doty, because Doty can play wide receiver.
3 quarterbacks.
How much fun would that be?
Call it the 3Q package.
Look at you. Look at you go.
Remember like when the Ravens had their Heisman package? Like you have your 3Q package. Oh, that's
So
good.
good.
That's good. And doable. And that would be fun. Sports are supposed to be fun. This would be really fun.
All right. So also Shane, he had the video thing from the SEC about all the officiating stuff, and again, Shane was very general. Hey, some of it I understand, some of it I still don't understand, and that was really at some point you have to move away from this.
Yes, definitely.
And to me,
I think today is the day we put it to bed. At that point, it's come and gone.
Yeah, this show's put it to bed.
I think we're done with it.
Because we spent half of yesterday with it, and then we've had a little back and forth with it a bit today. I think if you're Shane, you just have to shut this door and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it happened. You can agree with it, you can disagree with it, you can whatever, but at the end of the day, that's over.
And here's the thing.
And now you got to just get going.
Even if the league came out and said, yeah, we screwed that up, you guys
Are they
should have
gonna
won that
replay the
game.
game?
They're not going to hand you your victory back. They're not going to take it away from LSU. What's done is done.
Right, they're not going to replay the game for you. Go, okay, we're going to start at this spot here where you got screwed, and let's go from here.
Wednesday, we're going to take over, middle of the third quarter, 6:47 to go. We're going to play the rest of the game and see what happens.
I mean, and even if they say to you, I've always loved this one. If they say to you, hey, we screwed you guys over 3 times, okay?
I don't know if that makes me feel any better.
Ready? I cheated on you with your 2 brothers. Okay, I feel better now. Thanks.
I was honest up front.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So again, just all you get is the, okay, I was right, or okay, yeah, we got screwed. At some point, it's just, okay, it's done. You can't carry it with you now. It's over with. You move forward, and you go take it out on Akron.
I think there's a real educational benefit to at least getting the video back with John McDade's voiceover saying, hey, this is why this was called. And maybe you could sit down with the player and say, look, this was soft as all get out. But in this position, even in the heat of the moment, if this is what you can control and can do, that's going to benefit you, because then maybe you're not in that position down the road, no matter how soft or bad the penalty you think it is. And especially when it comes to like the illegal man downfield, like, look, it's not just a South Carolina problem. The NFL had so many of those penalties because so many teams are running RPOs, because when they're executed, it is an impossible play to defend against. But that's kind of the other side of that coin is if it takes too long to develop
It's a fine
quarterback to
line.
make a decision, then somebody's downfield that's not supposed to be downfield.
I also think it's worth noting here. We do have to remember Kyle Kennard comes from Georgia Tech and the ACC, completely different officiating crews that probably have emphasis on completely different things, where maybe he was used to saying, okay, I could get away with these kind of things in the ACC as opposed to these things. Comes the SEC with crews that he's probably not been around a whole lot that are probably enforcing things completely differently. So that's something that he has to adapt to. Not saying it's right for what they called, but it's like, hey, man, here's the sandbox you're going to be put in with this crew. You got to learn to remember that and be careful what you do and what you don't do.
But you know
That's a
what?
very good point.
Our guy, the head of officiating the SEC and Sun Belt, because he does them both, that video, why not every week you do that video and answer questions from the media for a half hour or whatever?
Or
about
just release the
officiating?
video. Publish the video.
Or have a video for each game. I was talking about the 2-minute report in the NBA, where the NBA is the most transparent league with officials.
Yep.
That 2-minute report could be a 48-minute report, but they just do a 2-minute report, right? The last 2 minutes of a game. The transparency in this world, why either have a video like set up a Zoom or whatever with the head of officiating and say, okay, media, have at it for X amount of minutes. Or do one of those for each game to answer these questions and put transparency out there, and then you move forward.
Especially with someone like John McDade, too, because, at SEC Media Days, we had that, the whole, not seminar, but the presentation of, what's the emphasis on this year. And I thought it was a lot of things that I were confused about going into the season were very well explained. I think a lot of media, fans, coaches, everyone involved would really benefit from a similar type presentation on a week-to-week basis over what has been emphasized week to week.
Because, again, transparency has to start happening at some point. All right, you'll hang out with Jay, right?
Unfortunately for him.
Yeah. All right. Elijah Campbell postgame show over at Shane Beamer's Presser. We'll get back in here. Halftime show, which is trending at 2. Men's Clinic of South Carolina. We've been talking about it for, we're working on 3 years almost here. Telling you that if you're a guy and you just don't feel as guy-ish as you used to, whether it's you're in the gym and all of a sudden you can't bench what you used to, or the next day you can't recover really well from your workout, or you're not sleeping like you used to, or you can't remember things like you used to, or you just don't have the same life drive, sex drive, professional drive, personal drive, whatever. You're just not being you anymore. It just could be low testosterone. That's it. Maybe you're flipping yourself out. You're going to WebMD, making yourself lose your mind on the internet. It might just be low testosterone. Call 803-875-MENS. Set up a free confidential appointment with the Men's Clinic. Tell them your story. If they think it could be low T, they'll do lab work. If it is low testosterone, they'll put you on a program specifically designed for you to make you again. 803-875-MENS, the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Make the call. All right, what's trending at 2? Sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Here on the game, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. Glad you'll be hanging with us as we roll up until 3 o'clock here on the game. Then Jay and Elijah will take over with the post-game show. We will be in Columbia. Veterans Highway, Hardee's location, 3 to 6 on Thursday. Busy day Thursday around these parts. So we'll be hanging out there. Again, Veterans Highway at the Hardee's in Columbia, 3 to 6 on Thursday. We're rounding up for a good cause, Harvest Hope Food Bank for Students. You go into Hardee's, you buy whatever you're going to get, round it up to the nearest dollar. That amount of change will go toward the Harvest Hope Food Bank for Students. And again, we'll be on Veterans in Columbia this coming Thursday, 3 to 6. Also, post-game show, 3 to 6, CHW Cabinetry on Two Notch in Lexington. Jay and Elijah, 3 to 6 as well on Thursday. So we're busy around these parts the next couple of days. All right, so what's trending at 2, we've been talking about how crappy officiating is in college football. We're really focusing on the South Carolina LSU game on Saturday. Josh Pate on his podcast also stepped up and gave his thoughts on the state of college football officiating.
College football is the greatest sport on the face of the earth. I love it. I will fight for it. It is a multi-billion-dollar sport with the most nickel and dime officiating arm that you could ever imagine. We are so far behind on accountability and standard of officiating. I'm not saying these are bad people. In fact, I don't even think they're doing the wrong thing. I think they've been put in a no-win position as well. Because I will guarantee you, after what happened with Tua the other night, I will guarantee you there were Friday conference calls with those league offices, and those league offices talked to their officiating crews, and they just flat out told them, guys, there are eyes on us that aren't normally on us. We have got to enforce stuff. We've got to make it abundantly clear we're protecting the players. Well, you're not. You're just screwing the players because there were games decided. There were outcomes decided on some of these calls yesterday. And imagine being these coaches. You only get 12 of these games. Like I said, it's not like game 3 of a 4-game set, Braves Reds in mid-July, and bang bang call at third base goes against us. We'll get them tomorrow. You get 12 of these games. There is no more LSU South Carolina. Like, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, Josh is right. And like we've been discussing here over and over in the last 2 days, you need more transparency in what you do. You need better development. You need to go find a different ground to find officials. Get younger officials who are quicker and whose eyesight's better and who can chase around 18 to 24-year-olds in the prime of their athletic career who are doing things in a split second, and you got to throw flags and make judgment calls. 3, make them full-time employees. Make them full-time officials. The SEC's making bazillions of dollars off a TV deal. You can afford to hire full-time officials for 8 crews.
Yeah, and
8 crews.
I don't know. Give them a job in the league office somewhere, January through August.
Yeah, figure it out.
Figure out
right.
This year. Like, again, we don't have to get in logistics of all those kind of things, but if there's more accountability for where they can focus more of their time on being officials as opposed to, hey, you're going to officiate this game this weekend after you get off Friday at 5 o'clock from your regular job. Like, I think it could be better across the board. And, somewhere along the lines, because we hear they get reprimanded and, your score throughout the year can affect if you get to call bowl games or those kind of things. I don't know if that's enough of a deterrent, because if you screwed up the South Carolina LSU game this past weekend, is that enough to prevent you from going out there and screwing up whatever game you're getting to call this weekend? I don't think it is.
No, and that's the thing here. You make it matter. You make it matter to the officials where it's not just some kind of side hustle where you're pocketing some money to go buy yourself a boat. I mean, it's got to be something. Make it a career. Like you said, you figure out how to make them earn their salary. The other thing is there's got to be punishment here. There's got to be real punishment for not doing the job at a certain level or standard. Too much is at stake now. You can't pick and choose what you're going to be a business about. I say this about the NCAA all the time, or collegiate athletics. Football and basketball is business.
Yep.
Rowing and cross country is a sport. It's a collegiate sport. Football and basketball, that's business. You gotta handle it like business, which means you got to stop this. This isn't hiring a guy to officiate a high school basketball game or, a little league baseball game. This is SEC football where there's millions and billions of dollars flying around and at stake all the time, and people lose their jobs over this stuff.
And here's the thing to me. The SEC is often the standard in college football. If the SEC does something, guess what? Every other league around the country is going to try and emulate it. They're going to try and follow in line with what the SEC did because they're the best conference for a reason. If you set a standard of saying, you know what, we're going to hold our officials more accountable. We're going to, and not every league could make them full-time employees or something along those lines, but we're going to make sure that if they go out there and screw a game up, there are serious consequences for it. There's going to be a public forum for discussion between officials and media or whatever it may be. We're going to be as transparent can be because we don't want the legitimacy of our games in the best league in college football called into question because the officiating, as Josh Pate said, is nickel and dime. If you do that as the SEC, everybody else will fall in line behind you.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't prevent bad calls from happening.
That's going to happen.
That's never going to go away. That is the human element of sports that we have to accept. But it can be less egregious.
Right, and more consistent. All right, David Canales, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young benched yesterday after 2 games. The more I've thought about this, the more I understand Bryce Young has been terrible in 2 games, and the Panther offense has been terrible, but it's also one of the worst rosters in the league. And so this becomes a head-scratcher the more and more I think about it. Here's David Canales, head coach of the Panthers, on the benching of last year's first pick overall in the draft.
I owe it to all of the guys, the coaches, the staff, the players, everybody involved to be really critical about what we put on film, about what I'm seeing, and to make sure that I'm constantly making the best decision for the team every week. And it happens to be the quarterback position. And so it's loaded that way, but it's every position, and it's all the guys. And I was able to stand in front of the team and challenge all the guys that we all have to step up our passion for what we're doing to play with the play style that we're looking for.
So you're saying Bryce Young's not passionate. What are you saying? From what I've read and heard, Young hasn't lost the locker room, hasn't lost the faith of the players on the offense. You were brought in to fix Bryce Young. Now, if you're sitting him down so he can chill and watch and then come back, okay, fine. But if you're sitting him down because you're basically saying he's the reason you're not winning games, you're full of fertilizer.
Right.
You got a crap roster. You just do. You got a garbage roster at this point, and you're rebuilding. So right now, what you've done as a coach is you put the focus on saying the reason we're not winning, number one, is Bryce Young. Whether that's true or not, whether that's your intent or not, or who else you benching this week?
Mm-hmm.
Who else do you have a press conference about benching this week? And this is the thing that, look, I get it. I get it to a point. We've been talking about football is different. The quarterback is a different position. It's different. It just is. You can't say, just like every other position, because it's not like every other position. It is the most different position in the game of football. It's one of the most different positions in sports. You can't say it's just like every other. It's not. And especially a guy who's a quarterback guy like Canales. Now, if he's seeing something about Bryce Young and he says this guy's not going to work, okay, you know quarterback's better than the rest of us, we think.
Right.
It comes off as a knee-jerk decision by a young head coach who, by the way, wasn't getting his door knocked on by others to be a head coach, so it makes you stop and think.
It also makes you wonder, is there somebody higher up in his ear?
And I was getting ready to say that now.
A particular owner that is saying, hey, bud, remember I fired the last guy in less than a year. If you don't start winning for me, you're going to be gone too.
But here's the ironic part. You know who wanted Bryce Young?
That would be David Tepper.
The owner. Again, it's a mess.
Sense.
If you're Bryce Young, you hope to God they trade you somewhere. There's a lot of talk if Tua's can't go through the rest of the year, let Mike McDaniel get a hold of him in Miami and hug him back to normal.
I would be interested to see that work.
All right, caller number 5, Corn Tickets, 803-404-6100. The gig is tomorrow night. Corn Tickets, call right now. Caller number 5, 803-404-6100 on the halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head on the game. Oh, greatest day in the history of the world is September 17th. The old school one this time this is interesting. By the way, got winners? We good on corn?
Yes, Adam. Adam won our corn tickets.
Okay, we'll have 2 more pair of corn tickets to give away before we get out of here at 3 o'clock. Also, we're going to fire up a couple more pieces of audio. Tom Brady on the lack of development of quarterbacks in today's football, and Brian Kelly talking about how hard it is to win on the road in the SEC. So we'll get to that. First of all, greatest day in the history of the world. 1897, England's Joe Lloyd beat Scotland's Willie Anderson by 1 stroke to win the U.S. Open in Wheaton, Illinois. Englishman beat a Scotsman to win the U.S. Open in Wheaton, Illinois in 1897.
Does that have a name of a golf club there?
Don't have it.
Let's see if that still exists.
Let's see here. You do not have it in the Wikipedia. Joe Lloyd, while you're looking that up. Joe Lloyd, guess how many majors Joe Lloyd won?
The one?
Yep, the
That's
U.S.
it.
Open.
That's it.
Guess how many golf tournaments Joe Lloyd won?
The one.
The U.S. Open.
That's it.
Get this. He was trailing entering the final round of that 1897 U.S. Open. Hit a long drive following a great shot, a second shot to get 8 feet within the pin. He then putted. That's 3 shots. He putted for an eagle on the par 5. He won on the 18th hole by firing an eagle.
Okay.
Only time that has ever happened in the history of the U.S. Open.
So this was done at the Chicago Golf Club in Wheaton, Illinois. They hosted 3 U.S. Opens in 1897, 1900, and 1911. Also hosted a lot of amateurs and senior amateurs. And then most recently hosted the U.S. Women's Senior Open in 2018.
Look at that.
Boom.
And here's a guy, won 1 tournament ever. It was a major, and he won it by eagling 18. No, never happened before. Never happened before. By the way, one other thing in the old school. Well, 2. The American Professional Football Association was founded in an automobile showroom in Canton, Ohio on this day in 1920. 12 teams paid a $100 fee to obtain a franchise. That was the forerunner to what league?
The NFL.
The NFL.
By the way, in terms of markup, from $100 to however many $1 billion it would cost, what would that markup be? Be like 100,000?
Yeah, but what's $100 in 1920?
Not $3 billion. But that's what's crazy is like the and obviously Green Bay's a different situation because they're owned locally, like the Hallis family with the Bears, like these teams that have had one owner the entire time. Like that's all it took to get in to turn into this multi-billion-dollar organization 100 years later.
Think about the money the Hallis McCaskey family now have and are worth, and it started with a $100 drop.
Insane.
In 1920.
For something people probably thought was going to be like a fad that would die out in a couple of years.
Well, remember, there were times when football first started, it almost got banned in the country because of the violence and people were dying.
There were entire states that were determined to ban it outright for a while.
Because it was so violent.
Yeah.
That was crazy. One last old school, 1947, some guy named Jackie Robinson was named Rookie of the Year by the Sporting News.
That's pretty good.
1947. All righty, other greatest day in the history of the world stuff as we move into, like, you know, when we know it's real because it was on cable.
Where it was in color television.
Yeah, absolutely. 2000, Dan Marino's number 13 jersey is retired by the Miami Dolphins, which it should be. Marino, obviously a phenomenal career in Miami. If they only could have put teams around him as good as Dan Marino.
It's insane, you know, the thought about him, like, he'll get back to the Super Bowl, don't worry. And it just
never did.
Never happened.
Never happened. 1994, UNLV receiver Randy Gatewood caught 23 passes in a game for 363 yards and a touchdown, 23 grabs. And one last one here, maybe the most we don't care run by an elite player. In 2004, Barry Bonds of the San Francisco Giants hits his 700th home run, joining Babe Ruth as Hank Aaron as the only players to reach that milestone. And outside of San Francisco, everybody went,
yeah, we don't acknowledge you.
No. Because A, your head got bigger in your late 30s, and B, you're a miserable human being.
Well, there you go.
There you go. All right, it's the greatest day in the history of the world. All right, let's get to a couple quick cuts here. Tom Brady, and he's talked about this. This has been coming up a little bit with Brady. One of his themes about quarterbacks in the NFL, especially young quarterbacks kind of being rushed, the NFL kind of dummying down offensive systems for these young quarterbacks. Brady is just not a fan of this whole development of today's quarterback, especially young quarterbacks. And here is Brady talking about that lack of development in today's football for QBs.
There used to be college programs. Now there are college teams. You're no longer learning a program, you're learning a playbook. And the program is ultimately, like at Michigan, for me, that was a pro-style program. 5 years I got to learn how to drop back pass, to read defenses, to read coverages, to be coached. I had to learn from being 7th quarterback on the depth chart to moving up to 3rd to ultimately being a starter. I had to learn all those things in college. That was development. Then I went to New England and I was developed by Coach Belichick and the offensive staff there. I didn't start my first year. I think it's just a tragedy that we're forcing these rookies to play early, but the reality is the only reason why they are is because we dumbed the game down, which has allowed them to play. It used to be thought of at a higher level. We used to spend hours and hours in the offseason and training camp trying to be a little bit better than next year, but I think what happens is it discourages the coaches from going to deep levels because they realize the players don't have the opportunity to go to a deep level, so they're just going to teach them where they're at.
It's really funny. Some of it I'm with and some of it I'm not. It's like a lot of these, first of all, quarterbacking has developed a ton
I don't
over the years.
I don't think the game's been dumbed down. And if anything, I think it's more complex.
I think what's happened, though, that's the positive is instead of forcing quarterbacks to play in my system as an offensive coordinator, you're kind of building your system around the skill level of the quarterback and the strength of a quarterback, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, look what McDaniel's doing with Tua when he's healthy down in Miami.
Exactly.
And it's working.
It works. I mean, look what the Ravens have done with Lamar Jackson. You now take these quarterbacks, and instead of saying, you're going to play pro football now, son, as a pro quarterback, you're saying, okay, what do you do well? We're going to help you with what you don't do well, but we're going to build the offense around what you do well. That way you can play sooner.
And I think that's why it's opened up for guys like Lamar, guys like Kyler Murray, who 20 years ago wouldn't have gotten a shot to be a quarterback in the NFL because that guy's skill set doesn't translate over the next level because he can't be the square peg fitting in this round hole. But like you said, you have an offense coordinator that says, no, it can work. We just have to build the offense around him instead.
And there's two other pieces to it as well. The other thing is the rookie contract. One of the sweet spots in the NFL to win a championship is having a starting quarterback on a rookie deal. That means you got to get him on the field faster.
Yeah.
Look, I think sitting a year is a good thing. Patrick Mahomes sat pretty much a year. Works out pretty good for him.
Yep.
I think a quarterback should sit a year. I think you need to learn the game and understand and watch and become a pro. And in a perfect world, you got a grizzled veteran in front of you that's teaching you, right?
Yep.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Wax on, wax off, whatever. But because of the rookie contract clock that starts the minute you get in the league, teams are trying to get you on the field as quick as they can to take advantage of the clock. Yeah. That's a reality of all this.
They got to figure out if you're worth the second contract, they're going to go a different direction.
Right. So everything has been sped up, and is it really a good thing? Probably not. But also because of that, you are putting them in these offenses that are going to be easier for them to navigate because you need them on the field quicker because of the rookie salary.
But that doesn't mean every single rookie quarterback is like Bryce Young and fails. Look at C.J. Stroud. Same draft.
Right. I mean, I just think it's the idea. It's not just the quarterback. It's the system of your offense you put him in. It's the coaching. It's the players around him. And by the way, oh my God, it's upper management and ownership.
Yep.
All that helps to make a successful quarterback or not. So there's old Tom Brady. We'll try to. We probably won't get to Brian Kelly. That's okay though. But we got corn tickets. Let's go. Two more pair away. 803-404-6100. Callers number 3 and 4. Let's make it easy. You get a pair of tickets to corn. That is tomorrow night in Charlotte. Call us 803-404-6100. Also, we'll get a Firehouse Sub Text the hour and talk with Jay Phillips next on the halftime show on the game. Carolina Calls with Shane and Todd Ellis will be Thursday, 6 p.m. here on The Game in Columbia and in Myrtle Beach. All right, post-game show with Jay and Elijah. Ryan Brewer will be here Tuesdays with Brew. Real quick before we get to the text, you did get a couple of people to get the tickets to Corn, correct?
That is correct. Let's see. Got what are their names that I just sent? Just had in front of me. Rex and David.
All right, Rex and David,
Go to see
congratulations.
Corn. Can relive your glory days.
Absolutely. Put your old Corn concert T-shirt on and have at it.
That's right.
Have at it. All right, let's see here. Real quick. Before we get to the text at 803-404-6100 Firehouse Sub Text the hour, we've been talking about success rate on first down in these games all year, right?
Yep.
First two games around 25%. Basically, success rate is on first down, do you gain 5 yards or more? If you do, that's deemed a success.
Yep.
If you get less than 5 yards, that's not a success. Looking at success rate on first down. LSU, 29 instances of first down. 10 times gain 5 or more yards. That's 34.5%. That is up.
Mm-hmm.
2 of those first downs, by the way, 66-yard touchdown run by Rocket Sanders, 75-yard touchdown run by Lenore Sellers. Getting better. That was better. That was the best game for success rate on the offensive side of the ball. Now, 2 other quick stats for you, man, then we'll hit our text of the hour. Guess who leads the SEC in sacks?
Is it South Carolina?
Yep. Guess who leads the SEC in sacks given up?
South Carolina as well, 13.
There you go. So lead in sacking and lead in getting sacked. And obviously we'll talk more about that through the week. All right, what do you got there, Firehouse Sub Text the hour 803-404-6100.
Yeah, nameless texter weighs in and says Bryce Young is so bad he can't evaluate any other position. He has to bench him to see where else he needs to improve on offense. As far as Canales.
I'll say this. Bryce Young's been bad. But again, how much of it is just Bryce Young has been bad?
And that's what Dalton's going in to figure out. Now, look, Dalton's not somebody you're going to suddenly ride to winning the NFC South. He's a veteran backup for a reason because he can bridge the gap when your rookie gets hurt or, in this case, to evaluate what you have.
Also keep this in mind. Like we brought up, how much of this is David Tepper? How much of this is the GM, Dan Morgan? How much of this is David Canales was not the head coach when Bryce Young was drafted? All that could be a thing, too. Or it could just be David Canales in 2 games has watched Bryce Young and doesn't think he's got the goods to be a starting quarterback in the NFL or a starting quarterback for him. All I know is this. If that's the case, you totally screwed up by drafting Bryce Young. You totally misevaluated. You totally made a gigantic blunder that cost you not only taking C.J. Stroud or possibly Caleb Williams, but also tons of draft capital and DJ Moore. That's a huge, like my kid would say, epic fail.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, to me, I get it. And if you're just sitting him down for a few games to let the Red Rocket take over and let Bryce Young sit and watch and breathe a little bit, okay. But if you really, after 2 games, have said, this is, look at the rest of your roster, man. Look at the rest of your roster. Because you know what? Bryce Young wasn't playing defense the first 2 games.
Right.
So, again, this is the Carolina Panthers being the Carolina Panthers, which is basically a nice gif of a dumpster going down the river on fire.
I saw somebody on Twitter yesterday. They put up, it was a picture of a bunch of the team captains from, I don't know, probably 2015, 2016,
Mm-hmm.
Cam, Kinkley, Greg Olsen. They're like, this picture feels like it was 20 years ago.
Oh, it's crazy.
Because it is insane to think that this was a team and an organization that was in a Super Bowl less than a decade ago.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Different ownership, by the way.
Yes, the Panthers have never had back-to-back winning seasons, but they've had seasons where they're really good.
Yeah.
Until you got this guy buying the team and the dysfunction and the failure it's been unbelievable what this man, David Tepper, has done to that organization. It's mind-numbing. And it's mind-numbing he's a bazillionaire.
Well, clearly he is business smart, or else he would not have the money that he has. But so many of those people that are in those positions can't separate themselves knowing that they don't know enough about football to be in the way.
the problem is when you're really, really good at one thing doesn't mean you're really, really good at anything else.
If you're drawing up plays on a napkin and handed to the coach, you're probably in over your head.
Yeah. So it's just, and thanks a lot for the text. We appreciate it like always, 803-404-6100. Real quick, Twitter X poll of the day. Biggest positive takeaway from the Gamecock game on Saturday. Right now, offensive execution in the first half at 35%, Rocket Sanders 33. Pressure against LSU, offensive tackles at 28. Very close Twitter poll right now. Feel free to jump in at 107.5 The Game and throw your vote. So there we go. All right, we are done. Finish history down the road. Jay and Elijah will be in here next with Ryan Brewer. It's Tuesdays with Brew. Tyler, fine work, my friend. We'll do this again tomorrow, halftime show. See you.